Welcome, audiophiles and cinephiles alike, to the Beneflicks podcast, the show where we are reaping the Beneflicks one movie at a time. I am Liz.
And that's how you do a fucking intro, baby. I'm Tyson.
Evil Dead Snore. Oh, sorry. Guys, I wish I could impart to you how every episode it is the same sort of routine where I do the intro. I say it maybe with a little bit more pizzazz or a little less or a little different, but it's the sound bites we do before that is different completely. Some days we don't say anything. Like last episode when we were stoned out of our mind, I think we like astral projected our voices into the mic. I don't even
I wasn't
remember any
ready
of
to
that.
talk. I was never ready to
No,
talk.
no, but tonight, and yes, it is the PM, about to be 11 p.m. We've had a journey. I mean, we will catch you up on the journey of what this sort of franchise has entailed for us. But talk to me about the journey of your inner self. How have you been, man?
Whoa.
It might be the first only good segue I've
Whoa.
ever had in
Of
my
my
life.
my inner self. I've been good. I've been very busy.
Mhm.
Summer doesn't end until August, but I still have like that school brain where summer ends in July.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm kind of trying to pack as much as possible in my summer, especially because I have some friends that are leaving back to school
Mhm.
once August begins.
Mhm.
So trying to plan stuff with them, trying to plan stuff with you. Obviously, we have like a lot of big movies coming out, so that's like obviously affecting our schedule a lot. Trying to consist with the podcast. Still working 40 hours a week. That's not changing.
Dude.
So a lot's been on the plate, and especially with this episode specifically,
Mhm.
watching movies to try to do research for the title that we're covering,
Mhm.
and very similar situation with the episode that we'll do at the end of the month, which I guess I won't spoil, but it's kind of obvious because I think we probably brought it up last
I
episode.
think we brought up a lot of things that I have no recollection of.
Nonetheless, we're watching a lot of franchises right now, and then on top of that, just trying to watch theatrical stuff and
Mhm.
yada yada yada. But same old, same old. I really wish I was thinking about this because I do think that the people who consistently tune into our episodes, I have to imagine to some degree, either the
Mhm.
background noise is nice or they like are somewhat intrigued by us as people enough to at least pay attention to our fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I had more to give. I wish I was like, I'm on the streets this week. I'm on the streets, or like I'm actually broadcasting this from Tel Aviv this week. Unfortunately, I don't have that exciting of a life. I live
Mhm.
a very thankfully, actually, let me say thankfully and
Mhm.
happily, I live a very quaint 40 hours a week fun time with friends life.
Yeah, I think it kind of makes you realize and appreciate the, for lack of a better word, mundanity when there are the small little blips that beg to upset that. Meaning, like, financial stability genuinely is like, ugh, it's a dream. Like,
Yeah.
I think it, especially like the past few days, I have been really overthinking and then thinking and then overthinking again with like minor little inconveniences financially that have just been fucking me over. Um, and it really, really does suck, and I do not condone this, and I really hope I'm not demeaning any of our audience when I say these things. Like, when I talk about us taking edibles and watching a movie, I'm like, "Be safe, do it in the comfort of your own home, safety, whatever." But I do mean that, like, I'm not trying to say this is a good thing, but when you get to hang out with people by choice or by product of association, and you kinda understand that, like, people are suffering in their own different ways, I undeniably find a lot of comfort and solace in like the sad way, but comfort in a maniacally kind of good way.
Yeah.
Like I I think that is the product of why I partially love to do social media is because it often like, and I was thinking about this too. I want to say, was it last night or the night before? It was like one of the later nights where I was just like, there is so much wrong with social media, and a majority of the algorithm works against you and works to placate your own like dopamine receptors. But there is something so beautiful truly about, like, the most niche of fucking videos, like, coming onto your feed and that, like, you get to relate to, and I think, like, if there was a thing that I was without and I then would translate to me going crazy, it would be the art of being able to relate. Like, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, and it's weirdly poignant the fact that you brought that up right now because I also have been experiencing something very similar in terms of
Mm,
like social media algorithm and how it's been kind of placating my brain.
mhm,
I've been, like, on a real Instagram reel kick recently,
Yeah,
and yeah, I have, and I mean, this probably isn't just a specific me thing, but there's been so many like, my feed yesterday was literally every single reel, like, every time I swiped, it was a video with less than, like, 100 likes, like, it was
yeah.
super niche, random people who were just recording for the sake of recording, and
Mhm,
oftentimes, yes, I'm liking it kind of ironically because like, what the fuck are you doing recording for, like, your audience of whatever people?
mhm.
But in one weird way, I was like, that's kinda us, like,
Yeah.
us recording for, like, our very small follower base that we're very grateful for. But,
Mhm.
like, there's probably a subset of person that would click on our podcast and like, "Who the fuck are these 2 guys?"
Yeah.
Um, but it's really interesting that you bring up, like, the algorithm and kind of how that, like, social media can demean you or kind of loom over you, 'cause it is, like, a factoid, like, on Instagram, I'll get ads about, like, stuff that will, decrease, like, bloating or acne and stuff, and that, like, praise upon, like, your insecurities with your own
Mhm.
body and whatnot, and it's all just from listening or your search results. It's freaky, actually, like, you feel like you have like a minute thought about like, oh, like I wish this was different about myself, and it almost manifests into your phone.
Mhm.
It's weird. And there's a science behind it, and there's a genuine like algorithm and calculation to everything that you see on your phone.
Yeah.
All that to say though, like I very much have been relating to that as well. And I do
Mhm.
think that like I think no one wants to suffer alone. That's a very universal idea and a very like universal truth for most people.
Mhm.
But like that's especially true like with finances because I think it's really easy because most people are really secretive about their finances and most people
Yeah.
lie about their finances. They'll say they're all right, and that's completely fine. Like I think in our culture that is so dictated based on your financial status and how much money you have or rather
Mhm.
don't have,
Mhm.
it's very easy to get insecure about your finances and be like, fuck, I'm behind or,
Mhm.
like yada, yada, yada. But it really is like those moments where like you can see a glimpse into someone's like situation, not even just
Yeah.
financially, but just in general, where you're like, okay, like it's not just me.
Mhm.
Same concept with like, sometimes you'll see people on social media like, wow, like you really have your shit all together and
Mhm.
in actuality, like everyone has these things that loom in their brain that just, fuck with them on a day-to-day basis. And we're
Mhm.
no exception. I mean,
No.
we kind of lay all the cards out for you guys, which is kind of a reason I like doing this podcast, not because like, I'm treating it as like a counseling therapy session, but rather like
Mhm.
I hope that we can provide an angle of, like you said, the art of relatability. I hope people can
Yeah.
listen to us and to some degree relate to our situation or us people.
Mhm. No, I mean, and I wish we lived in a world where saving money was easier, but like it has become more dire to where the funds that you gain are so little that it goes straight to spending,
Yeah.
but the necessity of saving has gotten greater. It's the disparity between the both is just ridiculous. And it is crazy because like I have seen you through all these different ebbs and flows of when you were on social media and when you weren't. And you've obviously had a digital footprint in every regard because you've at least had like the most baseline thing of like messaging and
Yeah.
letterbox, and then I would send you the occasional thing. Do you think like when you look back on like what you would gain on a dopamine level pre accepting the arm's length reach of Instagram back into your life, and when you didn't have it, do you feel like you're more happy now with how you're able to regulate social media use, or do you feel like you have to be even on your top of yourself more now than ever?
It is really fascinating you asked that question because I honestly don't have the answer. I really think it fluctuates. Like there are
Mhm,
days like fundamentally, like if you were like, I don't give a fuck about if you repost the stories to when we upload a video for the
mhm,
podcast. Um I there's multiple points where I would just would have deleted Instagram just
mhm,
because like I think it's really easy when I'm in a bad headspace to be like, fuck it, like I'm going off the map. I think it's a very like relatable feeling for most people.
mhm.
Like when they're not feeling good about themselves or about their situation, they just want everything to disappear. And that includes almost like the digital footprint.
Yeah.
And that exists for me in spades a lot of the time. Like a lot of the time when I'm in a bad mood or like I'm really struggling, I like want to just disappear from having a platform. And then you can call it attention seeking, you can call it like a form of like cultural suicide, trying to just remove yourself from
Mhm.
any kind of form of existence
Yeah.
when it feels like all of your existence is outlined through social media now.
Mm.
It feels like you don't exist unless you have one.
Yeah.
But it is so situational. Like recently, I've been really enjoying social media and having it and being able to interact with people. And I've had a good balance of it where I don't feel like I'm spending 10 hours of my life on my phone, but at the same time, I'm able to enjoy it when I need to enjoy it.
Mhm.
I also think it's fascinating too because I'm not someone who's ever been like on like the TikTok crunch, like ever. Like in my entire life, I've never
Mhm.
had a TikTok phase, and it's not because I have no need to. Like I have tons of friends who have content on there, who like they like to send me videos on there. Just never really got into it, and somehow I haven't resurfaced on X, which is crazy because I feel like X was the one where like I actually liked being in the know about things, and that's like the main one to be in the know about things.
Mhm.
Somehow I've not resurfaced on that. It's only really been Instagram, and I guess if you count Letterbox, but that feels so much more like data analytical in the sense where
Yeah.
like I log things. That's my purpose for it.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, it just depends. Like it really like sometimes I beat myself up because I feel like it's a bit too consistent in my life, and other times I'm like, no, like truthfully, like, this makes me happier, so why would I, like, punish myself just because I think that it's what I should do, if that makes
Mhm.
sense?
No, I think the thing that you do, whether it is intentional or not, is I was about to say the actual account. You have like two different accounts, and we've made the joke about the other one because the other one, I guess people from very bird's eye view glance would say is like shit
Well,
posting,
it's like a spam.
but it is a spam to where like it feels like if you thought it or you immediately took the photo, you just go hit upload. And I think like to me that at least keeps me in the know that you are at least present and alive. And I think there is something that like our friend Zakai and you kind of do both. Where our friend Big Z, he used to just record these videos, and I actually take if you're even watching this, Big Z, I love you.
Mm,
I would say like I am inspired by the way that you, especially like I think before like adulting kind of entered into full swing into all of our lives and we became a bit more distant, he would record everything, like
yeah,
all
for
these little
sure.
things. And the thing about him is it taught me the value of like when I would see him recording, I would think like the way he was approaching it, oh, you're going to edit this so heavily after, but it was the way in which it would immediately be uploaded with an audio above it or just the way it is. And I was so inspired. And you do that in like snapshot ways
Mm,
with how you post. And to a point where we made a joke, like we would say your username, and be like, oh, that's so coded, so
yeah, for
name
sure.
coded. And I like it because I personally do not have that. Like I have by choice made my content not that, and I
Mhm,
try to have my authenticity be totally driven through my words. And I think like the podcast has become core to that being a facet of things
mm,
where like what I will edit is the audio and sometimes like trim out like if there's like a squeak in the background, but you being the audience, the listener right now, you get the exact thing as we were recording it now. But when I have TikTok, I look back and it obviously hits the hardest for me when I'm listening to other creators who feel so eloquently spoken. And I'm like, fuck, why do I keep crutching myself? Like, why do I always tell myself, like, when I go past 2 minutes every time for a video, I'm like, well, fuck, now I'm just blabbering and
yeah,
little things to undermine myself. But
mm,
it's things, I think that is my form of authenticity. But you guys have, what would be a rawness to it that I
sure.
really do love. And like I know our friend Mads and I like we were not joking. We're like, oh, bring back that spam account, bring it back. So I'm glad you do have it, and I think there is the moderation to it all, but I also think it keeps you on your toes and present in yourself by choosing not to delete it. You know?
I agree with that, actually, I 100% understand where you're coming from, and I what I will say about your content that I have to admire you by is it doesn't feel reactionary, but rather like
Hmm.
there is a real intentionality to everything that you post and how you word things.
Hmm.
Because we know people that make content that, like, will do, like, out of theater reactions or, like, just got out of this movie, let me just spill my thoughts and be
Hmm.
as quick as possible to kind of put it out into the world, which is an art form in itself, but you are much more like, "No, like, I have a specific methodical way I want to put this out and a consistency that I want to follow.
Yeah.
And even though, like, yes, like you said, you might lose some quote unquote rawness at the same time, like you've built a platform and a portfolio that feels consistent. Like it feels almost like a brand, but in an authentic way. Like it's, when you're getting like a C for cinephile video,
Yeah.
how it's going to be because you've curated it in a very specific way because you've had a vision in mind for it.
No, no, thank you. And it is all community based, and I want to do better. I want to do more of it, and I think there's little steps that you and I are taking in our day to days to make a sense of regimen to where then it can build ourselves up, and then we can project that in artistic ways and personal ways.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm glad to hear that things are going decent on your end. I'm doing solid. It's
good.
like a weird position, like home wise, families coming over, just things miscellaneously, but it's going well. Celebrated my anniversary with my partner for 1 year. That
Woo!
was an odd thing. I won't deny to you. Amazing, amazing, Kimmy. I promise you, is like the red dot is like on my forehead. No, I what I will say without, I think, unfairly breaching barriers into like realm that like is not needed for you guys to hear. Um, I found through like multiple interactions with my partner that I found that I was bringing up my ex quite a bit.
Really?
Um, and that, like, we kinda, like, came to a sense of clarity with that, a bit ago. Like, it's been brought up a couple times, on their end, and one where it was, like, the concept of someone can hurt you the most, but without them, like, the fabric of you wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And so many stories of self actualization and identification had them involved, and I told you, and I have no real issue like airing this. Like, I basically found out a bit, like a hot minute ago, that like they, given the timeline of things, basically cheated on me.
Mm,
And for some reason, their current partner, and I promise you, this might sound like I'm airing out dirty laundry, but I will say this came to a really big point for me, given where I'm at right now, to answer the question of how I'm doing. Their partner's page came on my Instagram recommended for some reason, and I
mm.
looked just because they're like a photography account.
Okay.
So I had no fucking idea, like, oh, I'm choosing this because I know who this person is. And on the tab selection option of like stuff on Instagram, it showed like I had like a heart emoji, and I pressed it, and it basically said happy 2 year anniversary. And that post was made, by the time I had saw it like a week ago, it said 6 weeks ago.
Mm,
And so that, like, I was very quick to do the math. And I remember the night before I went to go celebrate my anniversary with my current partner, I was just really curious because I still have the contact of my ex, and the messages we had buried. And I went and I scrolled all the way back. And sure enough, like when they broke up with me was weeks after the timeline of their, I guess, dating
yeah,
anniversary was.
yeah.
And it was like like a true verification of things. And like there was something, like, I've talked to you, you and I have been through the throes of previous relationships and how that had hit us. But I think it was just like that moment helped me come to terms with even like the financial shit that I'm dealing with. Like, holy fuck. Like, this is all like imprints that you make on the sand that water will wash away,
Yeah.
and the sand will be smooth by the end. And it just, like, the amount of time that I spent beating myself up and going crazy to know, to some unfortunate resolve, but one that resolve exists within, that no, I wasn't insane. Like, they did straight up fucking lie to me. And like, that to me was so validating, but also affirming to know that, like, there will be people that hurt you in different inclinations and impacts and influences throughout your entire life.
Mhm.
And it's whether you let it wash over you or you let those imprints stay.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, other than that, we've been watching a fuck ton of movies.
We
This was
have.
been July's been the first month that we have kind of set a framework fully of like what we're going to be doing from the first to the end of the month,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Before we start even made our Raimi video last week, or I guess Spider-Man video last week, we kind of had an idea. You put together kind of like okay, well, this week this comes out, and
Mhm.
this week theoretically nothing comes out, but it'd be good to talk about this movie,
Yeah.
and so it was all laid out, so it kind of made things a bit easier to kind of like, well, if we want to achieve our movie goals,
Mhm.
watching this on this day and scoping these people in and
Yeah.
yada yada yada.
Yeah, and I think you guys are gonna really be chewing on the next 2 movies we talk about, because one, I will say, by the point of us recording for our next episode, I think we'd have seen the movie probably twice.
At least twice, yeah.
Um, and it's a pretty big movie. We to peel the curtain a little bit, we saw the movie that we're going to be talking about next episode tonight.
We did.
At the time of this recording this, we got a lot to say, but we're going to hold on to it. And then the next one, if it goes according to schedule, will be the first time in a minute that we're going to be talking about a movie right at the theater practically. But I think there is going to be a worth to it, but it's
Yeah.
all in the name of the love that we have for you guys. Sharing that love, is there any art that you want to spread some love onto as well?
Spread some love onto. I'll spread my love all over it.
Give it to me.
Yeah, quite a bit actually. So
Oh,
I've been on my
what?
fuck shit a little bit, guys. I've been
What?
watching movies and
Okay, okay.
um first and foremost,
Hmm.
I'll get this one out of the way because we talked about it already. Spider-Man 3 has been on my mind like a motherfucker.
Wow,
I
wow.
think I said it to Matt today, and maybe I'll regret my words later down the road. I think it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. I think
Yeah,
Spider-Man 3 is my favorite Spider-Man movie, the editor's cut specifically.
good, good, good,
Um,
good, good.
yeah, unreal. If you want more inebriated details on that, you can listen to the last episode we did.
Inebriated details. I like that.
I actually don't even remember what I said about it during that episode, but all that to say, yeah, Spider-Man 3, dude, just one of the best to ever do it, and
Hmm.
oh my god, oh my, I'm gonna gawk for too long. But
Hmm.
beyond that, we're to get away from the goy schlop into some more artsy stuff.
Hmm.
I watched Lee Chang-dong's Secret Sunshine, which is a 2007 a Korean film, premiered at Cannes, if I'm not mistaken. One of the most devastating films and reflections on religion and grief I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Truly a powerful one, and I think, truth be told, like if I hadn't seen Burning before this one, I think this would, like, become, like, my new hyperfixation. Seeing Burning and, like, how much that film means to me, obviously, I have it tattooed on my fucking arm. I must say, like, I don't think it is nearly as good as Burning, and I
Hmm.
don't think I can grab onto it as heavily because I, can't help but compare it to the director's later work. However, a phenomenal film with one of the most powerful lead performances I've ever seen in a film ever.
Hmm.
Quite the I think you personally would get a really big kick out of it because
I would love to.
it's so specific on religion and how it attacks it. And I don't even want to say attacks, but rather like grapples with the very selfish tendencies that we as people have when interacting with religion and being in that community and how like we prey upon that community in order to feel
Yeah,
validation and acceptance.
yeah.
Yeah, it's superb. I mean, Lee Chang-dong is a director that I've been, wanting to check out ever since I saw Burning, and I'm glad I'm slowly starting to inch my way through his filmography.
Hmm.
Um, Beyond the movies that we're gonna be talking about today,
Hmm.
which have been on my mind a lot, I have been very much thinking about this film that I saw recently. Me and my friend Valerie did a kind of like it was supposed to be a found footage marathon.
Okay.
In actuality, one of the films wasn't found footage at all, so it was basically just a couple horror films that we watched.
Hmm.
Um, Watched the first Grave Encounters, fine, no real thoughts. There's one called Yellow Brick Road I'd recommend. It's very FX core. It's not the best ever, but there's some really interesting concepts. But the one I really want to outline that not many
Oh,
people have seen that I thoroughly recommend because it's on Tubi, so pretty accessible to majority of the world. Savage Land. This is a mockumentary, like fake documentary, fake TV kind of uh what's it called? What is the word where it's like a TV special almost
yeah.
on this town in Arizona that gets the entire it's like a super small town, like population of like 30 people,
Hmm.
40 people get slaughtered in one night, and there's only one survivor, and he's prosecuted, and they're like, well, obviously he did it. He like has DNA all over him, and yada yada yada.
Hmm.
And then he basically, as evidence, pulls out like a roll of camera. So basically, like imagine found footage, but instead of footage, it's photos. Some of
Oh.
the craziest black and white photography I've ever seen in a film.
Hmm.
Some of the scariest imagery I've seen in a found footage film. Genuinely emotionally charged and powerful.
Hmm.
And I said in my review, it feels very similar to Lake Mungo with like the kind of the mockumentary feel. But imagine if instead of Lake Mungo being about like a depressed 20-year-old who mysteriously dies, is instead about how how Southern uneducated America can be so hateful towards minorities and so prejudiced against communities, and
Whoa.
it's quite the wreck. It's like quite the wreck of a movie.
Hmm.
I don't think it's perfect by any means, but for how low budget and how unheard of it is, I
Hmm.
was genuinely shocked. Like I think you need
Wow.
to watch it immediately.
Wow.
I mean to talk to you in person about it. I think you need to watch it immediately.
Mm.
I think everyone, if you have Tubi, which you should have Tubi, it's free.
Yeah.
Please watch Savage Land. It is like a phenomenal. I wouldn't even call it a full horror film, but like with horror elements, it is superb. Like in a very poignant current piece of art that I think, especially with going on currently with the times and the ICE raids and just the horrible way that the Latino community is being treated in this country and
Mhm.
on a whole level, like POC is being treated in this country. I think
Mhm.
it's a super like important film to watch right now.
Jesus.
So Savage Land, yeah, great, 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 great stuff. And then that's kind of it for movies. I'm obviously thinking about the one we just watched literally 2 hours ago, but
Mhm.
that's for next week. And then for music, I have not talked about Wise Blood on the podcast, but Wise Blood is one of my favorite artists of all time. I've been obsessed with her since I would say 2020, 2021. Obviously in reference to her album Titanic Rising, but even her album afterwards, and In the Darkness, Hearts Aglow. Both
Mhm.
albums like terrific Baroque pop, 70s inspired, Brian Wilson adjacent, like just great work with phenomenal lush instrumentation. She has such a beautiful voice, such great vocal inflection. I was listening to Wise Blood actually on the way back to my apartment today, from the movie,
Mm.
and yeah, just reminds me of why she's the best to ever do it. If you need a track to convince you, I would check out Andromeda or Every Day from her album Titanic Rising. Just one of the best to ever do it.
Mhm.
Um, shout out to shout out to The Help again. I don't know if I brought up The Help
You
on the
have, yeah.
podcast. They a lot of their stuff is going back onto Koba's in terms of like their later albums and remix stuff. They have a remix with Shushu, one of my favorite bands as well,
Ooh.
called Undertow. It's a bit of an older track, but that track's been on rotation a lot, a lot. And yeah, Frost Children, shout out to them. I'm listening to some Blood Orange. You ever listen to like Adele?
Um, no.
She's in this state where obviously like one of the like the most beloved modern pop stars of our era, but I honestly kind of think she's in a place now where people kind of forget how good of a run she was on and how good of a like an instrument or of a musician she is.
Mhm.
Been on like a weird Adele kick recently. Like she's the
Okay.
one of the best to ever do it. Like
Okay.
has hits, like has genuine hits.
Mhm.
I love a pop girly and she does it the best. And then track from this new Kalela album, Point Blank. Check it out. That's for me. That's me.
Kalea. That's
Kalela.
Oh, sorry, Kalela. Fucking dude, that's crazy. Well, on my end, I've been thinking about a few different kinds of movies. I will say the one that is kind of an unfinished thought is I started watching A History of Violence. Basically, back up a couple steps. I am convincing myself that I need to get my dresser to be noticeable again and not the stack of movies that have been plaguing it for months, maybe even some things like maybe like over a year and a half.
Quadrillion%.
Because I had this rule before the stack even existed where it cannot be put on a shelf until I see it. And I never listened to that rule for a while. And then now I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna actually do it. So I've been waking up a little earlier these past few days, mainly to be rewatching a couple films that we will be talking about, and one in specific, very interesting. But because of that, I've been able to like not scratch a couple that I've been wanting to watch. One that I didn't and I watched on the trip was Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs, which you knew I would love more because it's been since 2018 when it released that I saw it, and I've gotten my precious heart of gold doggy Odie.
I love you, Odie.
That dude, Odie, if you're listening, you're the best. And I knew I was gonna connect with it more. But I completely was blindsided by Bryan Cranston's voice acting performance. The emphasis on so many long-winded scenes where you don't know what they are saying, but you can obviously tell what they are doing and feeling off of their actions. Um, One of Alexander Desplat's best scores, and I say that as not even the biggest Desplat fan. I think like he has some bangers, but just like his sound doesn't hit me as much. Um, the movie absorbed me from frame one, and I love it. I think it's one of the more slept on stop motion films. I think what Bryan Cranston is doing needs to be in direct conversation with how people love George Clooney's performance as Mr. Fox in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Agreed.
So good. We'll watch it again when we are having the nice look. It's a perfect when you're sick kind of movie. You know, like
Yeah, like you don't want something too difficult, but
no.
like you like want something also that tastes good.
Exactly. And then I watched this horror slasher called Sorority Row, which I had never seen, and I honestly got that confused with this one slasher horror movie called Prom Night, which I had seen.
Yeah.
Terrible, really sick poster with like a tiara like covering someone's face that's bloodied. Sorority Row I thought was a fucking blast. It made me miss so deeply for I don't wanna say because I don't ever believe that anyone ever intentionally tries to make bad movies, even the Republican slop that is Angel Studios, I do believe they think they're making a great movie, um, but I miss when movies went in knowing that they were making shitty characters and really god awful lines, but it just works, like, I had a blast with it, other art that has been kind of plaguing my mind lately your blood has been getting into my stream. Been thinking about Margaret a shit ton lately. It is funny. I would love to if I can remember. Please, beep, 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 beep. I'm transmitting to my brain for when we do the end of the year. Maybe make an episode of movie moments that have hit us, not just of films that came out last year.
I
Or
fucking hate that idea.
yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it would be one where we can have some fun, be a little intoxicated because like that movie just whew, and quite a few movies that we will talk about in our next episode and a couple of the films that this filmmaker has made, not spoiling anything. Um been thinking a lot about Nicholas Winding Refn because his new movie that we might go bat to bat for like but not like batting in defense of but like batting each other to death over.
Yeah, we will see. I really don't know. I was reminded how sexy Charles Melton was today, so that's
Really?
working for it. Yeah.
I hope because I won't. We can see that movie before we watch the other two that I want to like do for our watch beforehand. Um, OGG or no? Whoa,
Whoa.
OGF. Um, the two like very like
Okay, yeah.
mood based
Yeah,
movies that I
yeah.
want to show or watch with you. But unfortunately, our last episode of the month, we have to watch several movies before then. I just hope we can get to it. But other than that, movie-wise, not too much. Only piece of music I've listened to, I brought it up to you and you gave me the face I knew you're gonna give. Just been listening to a lot of Fred again, and it like truly exists because of I don't even consider this an album. I consider this like a trauma dump. Like he 45 tracks, 3 hours and 1 minute, with some insane features like Baby Keem, Little Yachty, Young Thug. Um, but like Playboy Cardi's on one, Anderson Paak, like
A lot of untalented artists.
sure. I'm trying to see if there's any that like you
Is there like a white person on the checklist? Is there like Post
probably
Malone?
everyone else. Danny
Or
Brown's on one.
is there Post Malone? Is there
Uh,
Morgan Wallen?
a lot of Anderson Paak
I like Shabuzi.
Re, Rico Nasty. Like Rico.
Again, too much melanin.
Sorry, but anyway, I just was having a lot of fun. And he came out with a documentary that is just about like one of his sets, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome. I would love to go to a little EDM thing with you one day.
Hard Summer 2027, baby.
Absolutely. Well, that's our cruise era.
Yeah, the Hard Summer trip.
I think we can have a lot of fun recording an episode on a cruise where
That's actually a great idea.
I
But I would for sure make sure it's in the first day, so like you're like involuntarily sick and throwing up.
oh 100 I don't even know if I would get motion sickness. Other than that, the last thing I guess that has been on my mind is is gonna sound like I'm losing my mind, but symbols. I reposted a as I like open my palm and there's like a pentagram. I reposted this Instagram reel that popped up on my page again for some reason and it showed that I reposted anyway. It was this comedian named Chris Olsen and the interviewer was asking is there any symbols in your life as of recently? And he brought up birds and like him thinking about his mom because that was her thing before she died or no she was still alive and it was a beautiful moment and it made me think like are there any like symbols for you and or like reoccurring things that have made you think about anything
This guy asked a comedian, "Are there any symbols in your life that you think?"
it,
Well, that is the craziest question to ask.
but he
Like,
actually
what?
answered like very sincerely
I
like
know, and he had an answer. I would if someone asked me that, I would be like lost. I'd be
I
like,
did ask you it are you lost
fuck."
I can answer I'll
Yeah, you
answer
go
and
first. You go
and
first. You
because I
go
wouldn't have
first.
brought this up if it wasn't like a thing that was making me think about something I could correlate it to.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I knew I was gonna like I have it in my notes. I wrote it this morning, And the thing that made me think about it was reminded to me again as we're in the theater, and it was this specific perfume scent, and it kind of is like pseudo hand sanitizer. I don't know if you're smelling it in the movie theater
Yeah, I
tonight.
think I got a hint of it.
Um, maybe there's a specific scent that always triggers me thinking about my mom, and I've smelled it for years, and I think it is the vague recollection of what I think she smelled like, and that just being attributed the way like psychosomatically my dad will never eat anything the moment someone says there's a hint of cilantro in it. Like even if you can't
Mm,
taste it, like his brain is like, oh, there's cilantro, can't eat
yeah.
it. And it made me like think about that a lot. And it also doesn't help. I have a coworker who like has a scent that makes me think about my mom. But there's also just like people will talk about like times and numbers influencing their life and like little moments of critical coincidence that like has them correlate things is and doesn't even have to be as recent. Is there ever any signals or signs that make you think about someone or something that's a bit obscure?
Yeah, I mean, literally all the time. I mean, in multitude of different facets.
Hmm.
I this is such a I have a mustache for those who don't know, and
Look at our channel banner, guys.
every time food gets to my mustache, I think of my grandpa because he was like devilish with it. Like he was always getting shit in his
Mm,
stash, and he had one of
mm.
those thick stashes too, where like if his nose started running, that was getting all up in that mess. It was gnarly, and that's like such a specific one that I'm like,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
like, um, yeah. You have to ask. We'll bring up this question next week so I can actually think on it because
Yeah,
there's
of
probably
course.
tons,
Of
but
course.
right now my brain is drawing a blank.
Yeah, just food for thought. But anyway, guys, we today's episode is interesting. For me, I will say in the regard, this is actually, I guess, one of hopefully two episodes this month where we are, or one of us at least, is watching the entirety of a franchise to get to the movie and the topic at hand this episode. Um, and this has been such a weird fucking like journey. 'Cause in the off the title, we're talking about Evil Dead Burn.
Evil,
Um,
evil, evil the boar.
I knew this was gonna be a weird one, but I will emphasize the oddity of it all. Shout out, oh fuck, what's the Hokum director? I was gonna.
Gail Weathers.
Oh yes, yes.
Did I get it? Adam Scott.
Let's see what is his Craig Gillespie?
No, Jamie McCarthy.
A good fucking pull.
Deep
Good fuck,
hole.
Damien. We know you're watching, little boy. Um, I knew this was going to be a very interesting episode because and I was thinking about this a lot, and I think it might actually be the only time, as specific as this is, it like really is making me think about the very beginning of our friendship because for any of you who don't know, we met in the early months of 2023. The first movie we ever saw together, technically conjoined, that we knew instinctively together in the theater was Beau is Afraid. But that was with a bunch of friends on the literal first day that you and I had a one-on-one hangout. I don't really count that. I never really have. Plus, that movie sucks. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I promise. You're getting up out of your bed.
I love that movie.
Um, the first true movie that we ever saw, just you and I think was like a foundational moment to where I look back on it. I remember pretty fondly talking to you at the concession stand, talking to you when we're sitting at the island table with high chairs. I'm talking like we're 5 years old. At Krispy Kreme when we saw Evil Dead Rise together,
Went to
and
Kura.
we did go to Korea. Yeah,
It
that's
was
very very true.
buzz.
And I was thinking a lot about that movie with every single film that we watched in this franchise. If you guys aren't aware, we watched every single movie because up until Evil Dead Burns release, we had not seen Evil Dead's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, the original three.
We watched Evil Dead 2013 back in October of last year. That was my first time. That was time 900 for you.
Yeah, that was like my Bible.
And then before then, all the way back in April of 2023, we saw Evil Dead Rise together. And I was thinking about how every single movie we have watched in this franchise together, the conversations we'd have. Now, mind you, we saw all of these except for Burn on the rewatch at your house, in your apartment. And so, like, we can have little commentaries here and there. But I found it so fascinating to a point where I was talking to Austin tonight while we're in the theater for a completely different movie about the beauty of evolving with the person you watch things most with, and how whether it's a comfort thing, because it's also not like we grew up we met each other as stupid people and then we just became smart and had like social awareness in way. I will agree, and I
Like
think
you're
like
still kind of getting there. I was kind of locked, but you're still kind
sure,
of getting there.
you're just letting me like figure it out, like fill in the gaps.
And you thought it was good, 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 good.
Oh my god, no. You did the hand thing, like I thought you were gonna start rhyming, but you were just making me out to be like Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder. Um, but I okay. The point that I'm what I was trying to get at though was basically anyway that I'm fucking stunned. You're like cross-eyed right now.
A fucking
I
idiot.
I brought it up to Austin about like the evolution of just like a couple years, and while he agreed, I also kind of came to terms because Austin's a little older than us, but the growth that we have had as people, but just between the ages of being like 18 and 19 to now 22 and 23 is insurmountable, you know?
Yeah.
And it just, this is going to be a franchise off of the filmmaker who made the first three, but also the fact that we have this conjoined relationship with Rise. And I think we're going to have similar but different feelings to these movies. It just was this is an episode that I'm very excited to do. But yeah, man, I think.
It's really interesting you said that too, because on the inverse, I actually was convinced this was gonna be our worst episode.
Oh, you were
So,
serious about
oh
that.
no, not at all.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
like we're like kind of mean. It's like a temper pincer
T-
movie, temporal
Every time you try to
pincer
quote it, you like
movement,
miss a syllable. That
tempura pincer movement.
from tempura pincer movement.
Ooh.
um. So yeah, I think the best way to start, I guess I'll let you choose. Would you wish to talk about it in the order in which we saw these movies or
Ooh.
chronologically? Because we're obviously go.
Ooh. Actually,
Oh,
that's actually really. Ooh. Should we do an audience vote?
yeah, guys, hey, vote as both of our right hands are down our pants. Dude, I think okay. Actually, pick a number between one and two.
Oh, fuck, is one the first option you gave me, and two is the second option you gave me?
Fuck, you're good.
Let's do chronologically, just because
I did.
you
I did.
rewatched Rise, and I've only seen Rise once, and it was literally the time that we watched it
Yeah.
together.
Okay,
So I think for the sake of like consistency
that's
and
fine.
memory,
That's
let's
fine.
do chronological.
Okay. So we'll start. I'm kind of less concerned with talking about the plot because we can just summarize them in the sentence, and we'll kind
Can I
of
go first?
yeah.
Some friends go to a cabin, and one of them reads the Book of Dead and unleashes evil.
Oh, yeah.
Evil! That's Evil Dead
Delicious.
1. That's Evil Dead 1.
Okay. And in terms of that, I got okay. You know what? I will just say off the bat, required viewing. I now understand the blasphemy when, and I say that considering what we're about to say with Evil Dead 2 and our experience with that. Um, Watching Evil Dead 1 was like seeing the baby that you have only known as a grown-up adult be born beautiful. Little goopy,
Yeah.
little cross-eyed, but you see the beauty in him.
Yeah.
I think that movie, and I looked up the budget adjusted for inflation is like $1 million, which I'm like, it's kind of crazy that they gave him that much money. But like, that movie is so pristinely crafted. The one technical thought that comes to mind for me is actually like lighting. I think the movie is lit pristinely.
Yeah, dude.
Um, I think like we will discuss in further detail the varied opinions and different rankings that I've seen online, but I do see so many people put this in like bottom three territory. And by nature of the beast, we'll see where our rankings land. But I also think people really dismiss how brilliant this movie is. I think like from top to bottom, it is, and I would say this for a majority of these films, it is a filmmaker going full tilt beast mode, yet it somehow is Sam Raimi at like 10 years old.
Yeah, he's like a little kid, and he's still kind of like doing like backflips and dunking it on Shaq. It is quite the insane debut film. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that this movie exists in the way it exists. Like you kind of hear out the first Evil Dead, and you hear like it's kinda gory,
Yeah.
but it's very amateurish, but, like, in a very charming way, and you're kinda like, "Okay, like, I'm gonna get something that's, like, not too crazy for today's standards, but it's gonna be, like, enjoyable in, like, a,
Mhm.
"Oh, like, look how cute this is," kinda way.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
first Evil Dead's actually, like, insanely well made, especially, like, on an indie
I
level,
agree.
as well as being, like, quite the fucking trip to watch. Like, yes, like, is it as zoinked out as number 2? No, but no one's claiming it is. However, it is really interesting because although Evil Dead 1 has, like, a goofier spin, especially in that second half, what's
Mhm.
really fascinating is, like, bring up friend Valerie again, I was telling her that we watched the Evil Dead movies. Evil Dead 1's her favorite, like, out of all of them. And
Wow.
the thing is that she doesn't like number 2 and number 3. She doesn't like them getting silly. Like, she doesn't like when they get silly. And so the first is the perfect amount of
Whoa.
scary and kind of a little bit of goofy mix while
Yeah.
also not diving too far into either territory. Because
Mhm.
that's her favorite in terms of the modern ones and that one. So,
Holy shit.
like you were saying earlier, like, everyone has their favorites and everyone has their rankings. I think it's really hard to talk about the first Evil Dead without bringing up the sequels because by
Mhm.
nature, the second one is quite literally a continuation or in some cases, like, a remake
Yeah,
of the first one.
yeah.
However, like, what's really interesting is it sets tone super well because of the lighting, because
Mhm.
of the ambience, because of the actual setting, because you can actually feel like this cabin was low-key dilapidated and probably falling apart.
Yeah.
But even shit just like with the stop motion effects towards the latter half, towards, like, the actual practical effects for the gore, like, there was this wasn't kids going and just fucking around and being
Mhm.
like, "We have a bunch of money and we did some fuck shit," like, there was a true artistic merit to it, which is not only really impressive for how young everyone was making this, but also,
Mhm.
like, this type of movie didn't exist, like, this was, like, we were talking about it when we first watched it, I'm pretty sure this was, like, the first defining film of, like, cabin in the woods horror.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is that is by nature elevated the genre tenfold since its
Mhm.
release. Like, the
Mhm.
first Evil Dead not existing fundamentally changes maybe every kind of form of genre horror filmmaking you can perceive
Mhm.
in every facet.
No, quite literally, and we as we were watching it, I think the big note that I really was thinking is that movie came out in 1981. So 91, 01, 2011, 2021, 45 years later,
Holy
we
shit.
got to experience
Holy shit, what the fuck?
right? Like, that means,
Wait,
like,
nine whoa, like, that way that you can't do that to me.
isn't that crazy? And it brought up this thought in my head, and, like, we kinda spitballed some filmmakers, but, like, the man who is having the woman in the woods turn into the dead-eyed, or the man that has Bruce Campbell being thrown over, like, bookshelves that are falling and he can't move, the man that has stop motion ooze that is green coming out of these people's eyes, like, is the same man that is doing the match cut in Send Help, the same man that is having such an insanely over the top death scene of a plane crash in Send Help. Like, this is the same person. And it makes me sad that, like, as we progress in this franchise, the movies that he makes and is credited as a director, like, he had a hold in every sort of decade from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s. And it's sad, and I think it is truly by choice. Like, he made Oz the Great and Powerful, took Disney money and said, "I'm gonna eat, like, the PB&Js and just live my life," you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna go, like, give money to, like, the Republican Party. And you know what? Like, all things considered, like, I think he is a filmmaker that, like, he made his identity and, like, what a Sam Raimi movie should be
Mhm,
and what it is
mhm.
so clear by his first venture, which is
Yeah.
probably the most impressive thing you can do as a director. Like,
Mhm,
there are directors like, obviously, like Scorsese or sorry, like, Tarantino with,
mhm,
Reservoir Dogs, like, very much defined what a Tarantino film is.
mhm.
And obviously, most people would probably point to Tarantino as the first option for a more classically talented director.
Yeah.
However, Sam Raimi has by virtue defined himself and his voice and his visionary talents so like from his very first film, which is probably the most impressive thing you can do not only as a filmmaker but as any sort of artist, like
Mhm.
to have such a clear intent and to be able to project your energy and your vibe and what you want to put onto the world from your
Yeah.
first feature that is made sub $1 million, like that is redonkulous.
Mhm,
And all that to say, like he still has that whimsy and disgust and that fuckery and that
mhm,
tween vibe that
mhm.
he exemplifies with his first 45 years later with Send Help is quite just it's brilliant. And I think like what's really interesting about the first Evil Dead 2 is like it really is one where I'm victim to this, where, like, sometimes I'm just not in the mood for an older film, like, I just, like,
Mhm,
I'm not really they're a bit slower at times, they're not attuned to our Gen Z attention span, whatever. The first Evil Dead is, like, really, like, it's engaging throughout the whole thing, it's r like, I keep on saying it's really well made, but,
mhm.
like, it throws shit at you that you still won't even see in current day, like,
Yeah.
it almost feels like it predated a lot of what, like, YouTube horror is doing with, like, stop
Sure,
motion
sure.
effects and with, like, Play-Doh blood and, like, I feel like I see a lot of that influence through, like, the YouTube horror sphere,
Mhm,
which you can't say for many directors of the '80s and '90s who are doing horror, like, it really does feel like he was so tapped into what a young mind can do and what they can precate onto their visuals and whatnot,
mhm,
but he also has the talent of a classically trained director who can block well, who
mhm.
can establish shot composition well, who knows how to properly light, overhead lighting, three-point lighting, like, he has it all down, yet he doesn't let that escape his, like, imagination, like, I don't know,
Mhm.
I think it's just so utterly talent filled, it's kind of ridiculous.
So good, in fact, that you ask yourself, "How the fuck can he outdo himself?"
And then Evil Dead 2 comes along.
And so Evil Dead 2, basic premise is it literally does the first 2 minutes recapping nearly what happens everything in 1, but then follows Ash, played by Bruce Campbell, there on out as he, in the words of Woah Vicky, fights with his flesh.
Literally fights with his flesh.
And to kind of jaunt the map of what that day looked like for us, we told ourselves we were gonna watch 5 movies that day for 2 separate episodes, all of which were the Sam day, the Sam off.
Sam off.
We started pretty early at around, like, 11, 12. Watched the first Evil Dead, then we're gonna do the 2nd, then we're gonna do the 3rd, then your roommates were gonna come over, then we're gonna watch Spider-Man's 1 and 2. Everything was going good, if not a little off time just because we went to a dispensary, have to say that. Then we went to a Barnes& and Noble, got some Criterions, came back, watched the first one. We're having a good time. We're having a good time. Took an edible. We're having a good time. That was a little bit like, like we're feeling it. Then we started Evil Dead 2. And I think it was whether we were feeling comfortable, whether we oh, sorry, I skipped over the fact that we got you got 2 big Del Taco boxes,
One of the worst things I've ever done in my entire legitimately, like, burned money. Like, speaking of Evil Dead burn, I burned fucking money.
12 burritos and 12 tacos,
For just the 2 of us, by
and
the way,
just the 2 of us, and then your roommates brought over food, and then
which crazy because they
then we got
asked.
boba, but that's we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, because then we basically ripped 20 milligrams of indica. Both of us are heavy lightweights, and for us, it kinda hit us watching 2 in different moments, but it hit us nonetheless in that 84 minutes. For me, it was when he was trying to shoot his hand that is running around like a mouse in the house,
That's nice.
but regardless, I think, and I stand on the claim, literally the most insane movie I've ever seen
No,
in my entire
100
fucking life.
100%, like and it's really saddening because truth be told, like, I don't know if I blacked out or that there was just
No, dude, it was bad.
there was too much content within the beast that I am not able to fully put it into
No.
memory,
No.
but there is
No.
no understatement, like, Evil Dead 2, despite what you might hear,
Mhm.
or might not hear because it is a bit of an older film, the fact that it exists, how it exists is bewildering, like,
Yeah.
actually the most like, some of the I it's even hard to talk about this because you kinda wanna start at every different point
Yeah.
possible, but truth be told, like, Evil Dead 2 is, like, the most absurdist, wacko, full gonzo like,
Mhm.
yes, I wouldn't say it's as full on, like, as, like, a comedy as, like, Army of Darkness, which is the 3rd Evil Dead.
Mhm.
However, it is a comedy nonetheless, like, to a point where they're doing Tom and Jerry gags, to the point where they're
Yeah.
doing just random fucking sound effects like, just for the fuck of it, like, it almost feels like we watched, like, someone's, like, torrented version of, like, a YouTube poop
Yeah.
of Evil Dead 2, like, it
Yeah.
feels like it's not in the
Yeah.
authentic version, but no, that is quite literally Sam Raimi behind the camera just giggling to himself between every take because he's having the time of his life making a movie.
And it's truthfully, if we were in any other relationship, I think in a past life we were Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell,
Mhm.
because if Sam Raimi was as invested as every single moment unveiling a new bit that is going 1,000% just for it to be gleaned over by an even better bit, Bruce Campbell is so willing to, like, everyone talks about Johnny Knoxville and the Jackass crew. Bruce
Is
Campbell is
killing himself for these movies.
and it's a majority of the time he is fighting himself. Like he is like a part of his body is possessed, or then like what we find out is his body is split in a little mini me Pillsbury doughboys. Like he is going at every level that I have never seen a person go in my life. And it's funny because I think like, and this kind of unveiling my thoughts on the third one, he is given the most to do, and I think he is the most charismatic in the third, but the appreciation I have for him lies heaviest in the second movie
Yeah.
because, like, and it's like whether he's falling down the basement stairs or he's getting karate chopped by an elderly zombie, like, he is. And, like, I think the edible high that we were riding is one that we have to know because it, I think, enhanced our experience. And then the moment that movie ended, you looked at me and you're like, "There's no way we're watching the third one." And you created adjectives to describe just how fucking high you were.
I was, like, nonverbal, like, the if I would took 20 mg of, like, actual weed, like,
Mhm.
Evil Dead 2 gave me another 20 for sure. I was writing 40 mg of fictional and non-fictional weed that day
Uh,
because it was gnarly.
exactly. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. And it to me is maybe I would easily put it up there. I'm trying to think if there's any competition. Maybe like Texas Chainsaw, but like it is maybe the horror film that everyone and their mother says you need to watch. It is standard on the rotation every year, but I cannot understate. And there's actually quite a few pairings that I would go about to do like double features with. But honestly, if you're trying to do the triple, all three of the main like Sam Raimi films are 80 minutes. So it's
True.
like the greatest sort of triple feature, double feature. I will say in a minute, like the one that I think also could pair really well with this, but no, dude, just like unbelievable shit that
Mm.
is unfolding in those 84
You know, if
minutes.
if you have a couple of friends and you're of the age to,
Mhm.
do alcohol or whatever substance of your choice, like, put on the Evil Dead movies, like, the first 3 specifically, like, just do a marathon really quick. You can get it done in literally sub 4 hours, which
Mhm.
is really cool for how much content you're gonna get out of those movies. It's just a grand old time, like, it's so, so much fun, and it's really interesting too, the way that, like, the second one is ingrained in horror, like, iconography and
Mhm.
culture in the sense where, like, kinda like you were saying with Texas Chainsaw, where, like, it feels like a pivotal one that, like, it gets talked about a lot, but, like, you cannot fully exemplify
Yeah.
how magnificent of a film it is until you actually see it.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like with some of the other ones, like Scream 1, for example, or Halloween, like, obviously great horror films and truly, like, pivotal for the genre.
Mhm.
However, like, when you watch them just in an individual level, like, it's kind of like, "Okay, like, this is good." Like, I kind of knew what I was getting going into this, and I kind of
Yeah.
got what I was expecting. You cannot if you no idea what happens in Evil Dead 2, I promise you it is so hard to fully predict and navigate where this movie goes in the best possible way. Like, it is magnificent in the same way that, like, you don't really anticipate the first Texas Chainsaw to be as stylized and as, like, kind of weirdly experimental as it is.
Mhm.
It's the same can go for Evil Dead 2. Like, it is truly one of the most, like, blind spot horror films. The fact that, like, I am 22 and I've been in love with the horror genre since I was fucking 4 years old, and this is the
Yeah.
first time I'm watching Evil Dead 2
Same.
is bewildering to me because I think that is after watching, like, one of the most essential horror viewings, but just even just as a fan of movies, like, it's such a love letter to different genres and different things, and it's just the pure you I was listening to our Matrix episode today, just like an inkling of it, and
Mhm.
you used the word committed for that series, and I agree with you then, but I specify it now, like, these movies are just
Shit.
committed to the
Yeah.
bit, committed to the filmmaking, committed to just being perfectly itself,
Mhm.
and it could not feel any better.
Exactly. And you know, what do they say in life? Two's a crowd, but three's a party. Are we rocking in the party of Army of Darkness? Basically, the third one, quick and easy, it exactly picks up the moment that two ends. Little
Yes.
spoiler, little vortex opens up. Ash Williams gets thrown into it. And drumroll, where do you think he goes? to 13th century medieval time. And there he has to fight a whole host of different things, maybe even himself. I okay. S-
Well, I guess important to know, this is the most comedy, like, this is no longer
yeah.
even a horror movie, like,
Yeah.
this is a comedy film,
Mhm.
um, and tonally, it's not the most far off from, like, the early Evil Deads.
Mhm.
However, like, conceptually and, like, setting wise and basically just as a movie,
Mhm.
the most different out of every like the modern
Yeah.
ones, like the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
out there. Yet it is still tried and true to its blood, to its core, an Evil Dead movie from a
Mhm.
plot standpoint, from a Raimi standpoint, from a zonked out standpoint. This is a Evil Dead 3 movie.
100%. And so I will say, no, I guess when we'll do a ranking of all of them. I think after we talk about Burn, and
Yeah,
then I'll say how much I rate them individually. But I will say we popped in the theatrical version of this. 81 minutes up until this point. Now the shortest Evil Dead, 85, 84, 81.
little quickie.
And I will say that I came out of this movie loving it. I think I came into it loving it more though.
Mm,
And meaning I think there is this rhythm that the movie starts going, and you start to see the little flourishes, the garnishes, the little stuff that he is putting on top of the fondue he's making, and you can kinda tell, like, for me, oddly enough, there was camera movements and shakes that he was implementing that I immediately was like, "Oh my god, that is the same man that directed the Green Goblin fight at the end of Spider-Man." Like, that is him. And the best thing that I can say about these movies is it is like he is reinventing the wheel 3 times over.
yeah,
Each film, he is doing something technically that then I think he harnesses to his maximum potential in the 3 Spider-Man movies
yeah,
in spades. I think that the only issue that I come to with this, well, 2. One is not an issue to the film, just a preference. I think aesthetically, it just isn't as invigorating for me as the cabin, wackadoo, like, house of fucking mirrors for me going
yeah.
into 2.
We're Cabin in the Wood guys.
1,000%, you know? And I know that some people consider this one their favorite because, and what I will say is the flaw that I have is, and the best analogy that I try to give to our friend Austin, because he was very certain how we would think about the franchise and Burn, and I'll tell you guys if he was right or wrong. What I will say is I compared number 2 to Sam Raimi plucking all the strings of a guitar so wonderfully. He is plucking the same string pretty wonderfully in 3. I think
Mm.
in terms there is a like a bit in the movie that involves him splitting into a bunch of different like homunculuses.
Debatably the best in the entire 3.
I agree. After that though, it feels, despite I think the movie looking gorgeous, despite the movie never losing steam technically, I think it commits to the you say Tom and Jerry, I say Looney Tunesification of like jokes, of like gaffs and bits, and it to me didn't feel as varied as 2 did for me.
Yeah.
Mind you though, these are mere nitpicks for me because again, I do think Bruce Campbell is on fullest form in this movie, and it's a lot that is kind of asked of him that isn't in the first 2, which is he maybe says a total of like 10 lines, you know, in like the first 2 movies.
And, like, half of them are, like, groovy.
Exactly. But in this, like, he is having to spit one-liners in these moments, and like he's having to defend himself and go against different people and things. And I think it works so wonderfully. And to me, it doesn't suffer from the third movie-itis of so many trilogies where 2 hits a stride, but then 3 kind of falters, you know?
You know, I think that it's quite the brilliant derailing of the series that
Mhm.
up to that point feels very natural for it, and I think he
Mhm.
pulls it off very well.
Mhm.
Like I said, establishing his style while also doing a completely different genre.
Mhm.
It is a comedy, yes, but like it is a medieval adventure film at the same time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me personally, like as a preference, usually those type of genre films
Yeah.
have a bit of an uphill battle for me.
Yeah.
So it's not even like, oh, like Raimi did it wrong. It's just like unfortunately, I think he did it so well that like it begins to
Yeah.
suffer my
Where do you
personal
go?
biases. However, that being said, I mean, it's Evil Dead 3 made by the guy who made Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2. Of course it's great. Of
Mhm.
course it's hilarious. Of course it's visually creative and stunning and has these gags and moments. And like you said, to your credit, Bruce Campbell like has to actually play like a hero in this one. Like in the first two, yes, like he is the hero character and he's the protagonist. But
Mhm.
first one, he's more of like in a cropping up group and he is kind of like in the sense like a final girl, quote unquote.
Mhm.
The second one, yes, he is predominantly the only character. Like 95% of the movie, it is just him.
Yeah.
However, he is kind of like it's like performance art. Like he's not even like really acting.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like doing like tricks for me, and I'm just kind of like pointing at him.
Mhm.
Evil Dead 3, like he is a character. Like Ash Williams at this point is a defined action hero, and he is has to
Mhm.
be charismatic, and he does it wonderfully. Like
Mhm.
we were talking about this, like the fact that Bruce Campbell wasn't the biggest star after Army of Darkness is crazy because he
Yeah.
is just he's so wonderful. He's hamming it up so well. He's so brilliant, and like even from stuff like the very ending and like the grocery shop market, and just
Mhm.
like he has it the entire time. He has this energy and enthusiasm that matches Sam Raimi's energy as well. Like
Mhm.
they really are soul sisters. Like they are kismic
So
together.
true.
And
So
like
true.
it is ridiculous the fact that like there are people in this life that you will find and very poignant the fact that Evil Dead was our first movie together. There are people
Mhm.
in this life that you will find that will just be on your level that no one else can get to. And that
Yeah.
was Sam Raimi and that was Bruce Campbell. Like they met each other and they somehow, despite the 7, 8 billion people in the world,
Yeah.
they managed to find each other and make this phenomenal art together.
Mhm.
Very fitting that we found each other.
Very, very, very,
It's
very,
beautiful.
very fucking true,
Even though
man.
we didn't watch the first Evil Dead together, but
No,
that's
we didn't, and we watched Rise, and we'll get to that both iterations. Yeah, the last thing I will say is, maybe the only time in this franchise where I was like, man, I wish it was longer, but I also say that knowing that it is, and, like, I would be very curious to see if my opinions kinda change because, like, I think he is my favorite in this because of when he is delivering lines, but, like, the theatrical version that we see, like, there is a prime moment that I think about where, like, he is, like, stopping the woman and he's like, "Give me some sugar," like, sorta, like, swooning and caressing her, and then it immediately cuts to, like, him riding away, and I'm very, very curious to see if the 15 minutes that differ in runtime between the theatrical and the directors is more gag based or more dialogue based. So I'll get back to you on that.
yeah. And also, quick little side pivot. Fuck the Evil Dead Reddit. Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Like, actually, fuck you guys.
Yeah. Evil work.
Liz over here was trying to ask
Evil.
a genuine question about what version that we should watch because we only had time to watch one version.
Yeah.
And the Reddit, like their commenters were so unhelpful and like so like just like annoying.
Yeah.
Like they weren't even mean. Like I don't want to be mean if they weren't being mean, but like they just were being almost purposely unhelpful and like,
Hmm.
well, watch whatever one you think is there. Like what?
Yeah.
We're just asking for like and it was funny too because it wasn't even like you were phrasing your question or your advice in a very funky way. Like you were so clear, so concise. Like I understand this is the this and this is this.
Hmm.
I'm just curious on what the preferred version for you guys is. And they're like, I don't know, man. It's up to the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. Like,
Like fuck you.
no, like, please, like, there's showing me gifs of like the turtle from Kung Fu Panda. Like, what the fuck are
Mas-
you on?
Master Oogway. Master
Yes.
Oogway. I just want to know what version of Army of Darkness to watch. I want to hear your
Exactly. They're
fucking
like,
poems.
"Oh, I love Ash vs. Evil Dead. When the fuck did I bring up that at all?"
When the fuck did we stop for ice cream?
Quite fucking literally. But with all that, we're gonna be jumping. We're moving. It's kind of like right now, and we're on land, but now we're on the ferry that is taking us to another island. But this ferry is Fede Alvarez, but he's bridging the gap between camp and the horror and gore that these next three movies would entomb us in. And we have a very fun relationship with 3 or 4,
Ooh,
sorry, 2013 though.
2013.
We for you, it's core. For me, it feels like eating a bite of a food that I'm like, "Where have you been all my life?"
Yeah.
You know? We had the greatest opportunity experiencing this last year in October. I wanna say, like, in the middle of October of last year.
What episode did we bring that up on?
We brought that up in some fucking episode, dude. I
Yeah,
literally
we
was
like
just thinking about that because we literally broke
the
down.
Frida
I don't
something.
know. Again, scroll past our episodes, or if you're a devout fan, email us in at beneflickspod@gmail.com. Any
That was actually kind of a nasty transition.
Thank you. Thank
Also,
you.
in the point of breezing by, this is also we're breaking a record for the most movies talked about during a single episode. It was The
Mhm,
Matrix, and now
mhm.
we're talking about 6 fucking movies, and next week people talk about all 10 saws.
Jesus fuck, dude. But you got to guess what the lead up to all 10 of them are. Like, why are we making that episode? What if it's like Spiral? Like episode 22
Oh,
Spiral? One day, one
episode
day.
22 Spiral.
um, but actually, to that point for a second, a testament for how great these movies are. Like, these are. It's like we're eating bite-sized samples. Like I'm not full. I'm not feeling like a glutton talking about it. Like you can talk about them because they're so breezy. They're so short. They're so fun.
I don't know how you feel about it, but it's kinda like See's Candy. It's like each of them are, like, very
Ooh.
decadent and very rich, but,
Mhm.
like, very quality, and, like, it's, like, little different, like, one's a raspberry, one's an
Mm.
orange cream.
Different colors. And
Ooh-wee.
and and it's not like what I would do that you hate, which is like, "Oh, can I try a sample of this?" And they give me the sample and I walk out.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I get so much shame doing that. I have to buy something.
I'm the pot of greed, but I understand. We're getting the whole box. But okay, so with 2013 Evil Dead, we saw it. We love it. I rewatched it,
You did.
and I give it the same rating. I watched the unrated version. I don't think it's essential at all. It just adds a few things. There's a moment with like a cat in the beginning when they go into the cabin that I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of dumb. Um, but what I will say this.
Uh-oh.
I have two flaws with the movie. One existed, one was new.
Ooh.
And one is a it's funny because these last 3 movies, having rewatched 2013 and Rise, illuminate flaws in other movies in the franchise. We'll talk about it for a second.
Whoa.
One, I think the guy who plays the boyfriend in this movie, or the brother and the boyfriend, fucking sucks. Like, he sucked when I first watched him last year, he sucks now.
Duh.
And it wouldn't be as annoying if I didn't think the concept of, as I said when we walked out of the theater, taking the new spin of an Evil Dead, I considered a reimagining, but whatever, I digress, of it being like a rehab story where these friends force the sister, their friend, to go cold turkey because she has gone down the rabbit hole, and the brother doesn't realize how deep she's gone, is wonderful. And because then it leaves to what is some of my favorite moments in the movie is right before they realize that, oh, this girl is possessed
Yeah.
because they think it is her having withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
My other big flaw with this movie, because like I was so close to giving this movie like a 10, like a flat fucking 10. I think it has my least favorite summoning of the Necronomicon because, and this is a slight spoiler, sorry guys, I'm going to be spoiling a near 15-year-old movie. There is not an ounce of remorse by the guy who summons this thing. And what frustrates me the most is because it is never acknowledged that he summons it to a point where there is a line in the movie where the brother is trying to say like, "Oh, we'll drive her to the hospital. She'll get help. We'll get help." And he's like, "There is something wrong with her. Did you not see what is in that basement?" But he knows, like he knows that he is the reason why
Yeah.
it is summoned. It isn't like they're playing in a written intentional way that he is dumb and ambivalent to it.
Yeah.
But there is no sort of remorse had. There is no sort of acknowledgement had. And that unfortunately frustrates me. I'm not like a continuity monster,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it does like detract. And I think like what I will give against the movie is I think Fede Alvarez and his co-writer don't really maximize the potential of their dynamics. Like they set up the boyfriend and the other friend, the two guys in the movie, to be at odds with one another. Mainly it's a one-sided beef because he thinks the brother has been
A bum.
a bum, but it never comes to any sort of resolve, you
Yeah.
know? It is just animosity to create animosity.
Mm.
And in that regard, I will say that like the dynamic does weaken as I rewatch it, but to the pro, the gore is some of the best, not only in the franchise, but in horror movie history for me.
Remind me, because I didn't rewatch it with you.
Mhm.
The scene where he's basically in the basement and like they're like in the water and the guy who summoned the Necronomicon or
Mhm.
whatever, like he's all fucked up and he tells him, he's like, Eric, I read something in the book, like I summoned something. How does that interaction end?
It
Because
ends.
that's where he dies, right? Because that's I
See,
remember.
okay, what I will say is it changes in the unrated version because in the unrated version, he comes back as a Necronomicon, and that is still in the
Dead
theatrical.
eye.
Sorry, thank you. As a Deadeye, and remember, the brother then locks himself in the cabin as because he's like, I'm gonna go get the keys or something, and like
Yeah.
we're gonna leave. After he buries his sister, then she
Yeah.
comes back. In the theatrical and in this, he stays in the basement, but then when he goes to get the keys, he stabs the brother in the jugular, and then he then shuts the cabin door to make sure that it stops at him and that the sister escapes. In the unrated version, he lights the cabin on fire, and then the friend is lit on fire and is crawling to the brother, and then the deadite transfers from him onto the brother, but then the cabin completely melts, like is on fire. So that's how it ends.
Oh,
Um, yeah, if you don't remember it,
interesting. That's crazy. I don't remember that part at all.
because yeah, that's the whole reason why the brother isn't able to go with the sister to leave.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember he like sacrifices himself. Yeah, no, I remember like that being an interaction. I forgot how it resolved. That's a very interesting critique and whatnot. But yeah, and to your point,
Fucking awesome.
it's the fucking coolest movie ever,
Hmm.
and it has probably, dude. It You talk about a flow state in a movie. I
Mm,
brought that phrase
mm,
up a couple times. The biggest flow state, like once the Necronomicon is read out of, however, the movie
hmm,
hits the craziest flow state ever,
hmm,
and the pacing of it, the efficiency of it, the gore of
efficiency
it,
is a good choice.
the energy, like it is just all it is all gas, no brakes.
No.
The entirety rest of the runtime, and
Hmm.
it's really interesting with these movies because the first 3 aren't as crucial with it, but the latter 3, like all 3, do kind of specify and very much emphasize their last act, the specifically,
Yeah.
like, their climax, like, all 3 are pretty intensive on that, and I don't know if Burn and Rise did that because the remake set up such high expectations, but yes, it's a simple concept. She's in the rain, and the rain is blood, and she's fighting, literally Satan.
Yeah.
I do not care. It is the coolest thing of all time. He
I
flips the
agree.
car on her arm, and it lands on her arm, and she has to rip it off, and she
Yeah.
uses a chainsaw,
Yeah.
and she says, suck on this, bitch," or
Yeah.
something. Like,
Yeah. Quite literally.
it is the coolest thing ever, and I I sound like a boy, and I sound like such an idiot for just saying it's the coolest thing ever, and
Yeah.
it's, like, whatever, but it really like, this film for me is gonna sound crazy how I'm gonna contextualize this, but this was kind of like my family's, like, holiday movie. Um, my stepdad, like, loves this movie, and my stepdad
Hmm.
and I don't have, like, the same exact taste for film, but, like, there are 2 specific or I'm sorry, there's 3 horror films that he loves that he very consistently watches, like, at least once a year. It's Krampus around Christmas, like, our Christmas time movie is Krampus,
Hmm.
and then he also loves The First Conjuring, like, to the point where he bought it on the Xbox store. Every time a friend of his would come over, he'd be like, "You haven't seen The Conjuring?" And then he'd put it on for the
That's
friend
so
because he was
awesome.
so hyped. And also Evil Dead, like, he would make people watch Evil Dead because he loved that movie so much, and so I've seen this movie at the very minimum at least 6 or 7 times. Like,
Hmm.
it probably one of my most viewed horror films ever. And every time, I'm just like, no, like this is just a good fucking ride. And yes, I agree. The main actor who plays the brother sucks. He's not good. He's
No.
easily the weakest link, which is hilarious because how is your main character gonna be the weakest link, especially when you compare him to
Give
Bruce
it.
Campbell,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is like your lead guy then was like what made the series so charming and
Yeah.
amazing. What the fuck happened? Nonetheless, forgot her name.
Jane Levy. Wait. Oh, so the final girl in Evil Dead 2013?
Yeah,
Jane Levy. Yeah.
that's her actress name?
Hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Hmm.
Jane Levy, superb, and that's
Yeah.
been known, like, she's great in Don't Breathe, but really, really phenomenal. Where the fuck is she
I
at?
don't know, dude. I was thinking the exact like I wrote it in my review that moment when she's like, "There's someone,"
Yeah,
like
it's her
on
snot, the spit,
oh
and the
brother,
snot.
like it is to me like oh like holy fuck like it locked me in and I had just seen the movie like 8 months prior. I think she is so terrific in the film to a point where like you get sad that like oh no she's gonna be dead because then you have to have the drier than a fucking piece of cheese guy to be the lead character and it works so resoundingly so and like I love the crunch. I love the sound. Like I completely forgot that in the music in the track for when it starts right before it rains blood, they sample a tornado warning.
Yeah.
And, he. I really in the same way you talk about Jane Levy, I'm talking about Fede Alvarez because it's like He's not doing the new Alien movie. He needs to be back in the kitchen because I do think like there is moments in every one of his big movies where I haven't seen the fucking Girl in the Spider's Web that he did. Fuck that movie. But all the horror movies that he has done, he has had at least one moment that unfortunately my chud ass eats up, whether it's the turkey baster in Don't Breathe, the final climax in Evil Dead, or like even in Alien Romulus, the last 15 minutes, like he's got it. And I think like he has so much going for himself and like the ins he has in all three of those movies. Like he is so talented, but you can tell he's just having so much fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's like a really important, like essential key part to be a Evil Dead director is you
Mm,
have to be a director that's willing to have fun with your it's not all
mhm,
serious. Like it literally cannot be all serious. And yes, you can have a serious tone
mhm,
and be a more serious themed movie,
mhm.
but you have to be willing to have fun with the process of making it.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Fede was a kid in a candy store with this. Like he was just going balls deep as
Mhm,
far as he could and pushing it. Like obviously the mass amounts of blood, so cool. But like
mhm.
even from like the way the steam looks from the shower when she's getting boiled alive,
Yeah,
it's just not like
yeah.
the flickering of the lights when the girl's in the shower carving her face, or
Mhm.
just like
Mm,
the effect of like the needle stabbing the glasses. Like
yeah,
there's just a certain effect work and imagery and visuals and like and just moments that are so effective. And it's just
yeah,
such a variety of different ways to just gross you out, make you squirm. The whole thing with this movie, when it was first being marketed, was the scariest movie of all time. I'm
yeah,
not gonna sit here and say that it was even remotely scary. However, good God, I do remember that image of her in the basement, like, pounding it when I was a kid, seeing that as a like, seeing the trailer to that, like,
yeah,
scaring the shit out of
yeah.
me. I remember all the stuff with, like, they need to have barf bags and diapers in the theaters because it's so gnarly. And to its credit, the movie is fucked up. And granted, once you watch more like exploitative cinema or just like go a bit
Mhm,
deep in the mainstream, you're
mhm,
gonna find stuff that's worse than it. However, on a mainstream level, like they were pushing boundaries and it was done in a way that didn't feel like we're gonna do this to exploit, but we're gonna do this just to make this a gnarly good time.
mhm,
And 10 years later, 13 years later, it is still just such a blast of a film. Like, if you have not seen this movie because you're either against the idea of remakes or just have never gone around to
mhm.
it, or because you're a bit squirmish, yes, it is pretty intense. If you're a squirmish, I don't think this is your camp. I know that your
Pussy.
partner does not like blood. I'm trying to
No,
imagine
oh,
the
sorry. I
universe.
wasn't calling you a pussy. Kidding. Yeah, yeah.
But if you were able to tank it and you want a good time for a horror movie, or like I said prior, like I would say all of the Evil Dead movies are just good to put on with a group of friends, and this one is no exception. Like this
No,
might be the best one to do, especially if your friends are horror fans. Put on the Evil Dead remake. It's gonna give you just the best time possible, and you're gonna be watching the coolest shit ever while you're watching it.
I agree. And the last note I'll say is I said I would bring it up again. I think this makes a great pairing with two in terms of the maximalist attempts that the both of these filmmakers are doing. Um, just amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Even despite like I think out of all six of the movies, it has my least favorite side acting. It has the best final girl. So yeah, like fucking fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But we jump 10 years later and we are going to jump 3 years back. We are talking about Evil Dead Rise.
The apartment one.
Pardon me. That the one that for some reason people either think is not very good or is lost in the sauce or is sauceless or is made by a hack 2 times over. Um, we watched this movie and we liked it. We liked
Yeah,
it.
I liked it a lot.
We had a great time. I think we came out of the movie, we conversed a little bit about it, but we went on with our jolly old asses. Like we moved on. And
Krispy Kreme donut in the theater.
uh-huh.
We ate the Krispy Kreme donut in the theater.
Mhm.
Uh,
You Ontario.
Ontario,
Yeah.
and Dead Theater, right? There was, like,
Dead ass
no
theater.
one in the theater.
Dead fucking theater. I remember we both looked at each other in a way that we casually did. Now we do more intensely in the make out when the LCD sound system track played.
Come on now.
Like literally.
Out of curiosity, when that day,
Mhm.
there was consideration. We weren't, like we were always gonna do Evil Dead, but we were, like, considering another option. What was the other option?
That I couldn't fucking tell you. Landscape with Invisible Hand. I don't even know.
April of 2023? We'll have to look into that because I remember us being like, "Do we are sure wanna do Evil Dead?" And we're like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, let's do Evil Dead, like, let's do it."
I don't remember what the alternative was, but I think it was for the better. This podcast wouldn't exist without it.
Very true.
We liked it though. A bit. more vanilla, a bit more pedestrian. And again, I'm only speaking on behalf of what we thought then. But one that I think I'm gonna name drop you, punk motherfucker,
Dumbass
Josue and Austin.
motherfuckers,
You guys fucking say this movie's not very good.
idiots.
Chut ass bitches.
The
Like,
work check out the working class frame rate.
yeah, please do, guys. We love them very much. But yeah, punk ass bitches. Like a lot, but a lot of people share that sentiment that it just is fine, or it's not very good, or just pales in comparison to insert other Evil Dead movie. But you especially were like, rewatch it, man. Rewatch it. Like you definitely should rewatch it for the episode. We definitely should. Like especially you. You should rewatch it. Talking to me. I'm putting on the same level as 2013, dude.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
it and there's oh dude, I'm done. I'm actually done. I think Lee Cronin is so talented. He could lose it all in three. He could bet and put all of his chips in that he doesn't have very many of. But also, people fail to understand. I actually think The Mummy will probably make double what Burn makes. But anyway, I digress.
What?
Yeah, The Mummy made almost $100 million,
The
dude,
Mummy made almost $100 million
and we're 90 of it, dude.
from out of like the Arabian market or something.
You're
Sorry, dude, that was not
um,
cool.
but this movie is the most emotionally invested I get out of any one of these movies, which I think there is some irony to the fact that then six asks us a lot about, but I digress. Um, I think that this movie is so fucking good, and everyone talks about the opening, but no one seems to be talking about the things that happen after, but before the shit hits the fan. And I know, like, again, it's been 3 years since you've seen it,
I know,
but
baby.
like the basic thing that I know you'd remember is
Well,
there's,
what's the plot?
yeah, there is basically two sisters, one of which is a part of a rock group that visits another who has three kids, and they basically come into contact, as every other film before it does, with the Necronomicon. In this time, the best of all six through vinyls. Like,
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
LCD sound system, and then they put on the Book of the Dead.
It was a bunny move. Like, don't you bet. Sorry, I was about to sing LCD Sound System. And then everything hits the fucking fan. But the way in which Lee Cronin takes time, and again, like there's like moments where like you can roll your eyes and be like, oh, the way that like he is trying to like tackle like a teen demographic with like the sister being like, Mom, can I go to the protest tomorrow? And she's like, no, you can't. And she's like, man, fuck you. Like, I'm like, oh, okay.
The
But like,
protest.
there is a bit in the movie because if you remember, and if you guys haven't seen it, please go watch it. The two sisters are kind of estranged.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna spoil it a little bit, guys, so you can stop, watch it, and then come back. Um, that one sister, the lead, is pregnant.
Yeah.
And so there's a moment in the movie when Beth and then Ellie, or Elle is the one that gets possessed, is talking to her about the fact that like she's just not been there for her at all, and she's been going through it. And then the whole thing is like, oh, she doesn't remember, or she didn't even realize, and then she checks her phone, sees all the missed calls. But the way that the conversation is staged is right in between the frame of the door that has all the notches of the kids' heights.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, it's something similar that Lee Cronin does very, very well, which he has this keen sense of doing the minute and minor that go all the long way. In The Mummy and in this, he does that thing that he does with sound, which he adds like emphasis to like the AC or like a fan propeller.
Yeah.
And I think it is little flourishes like that, on top of just being a really, really talented writer, that has me dialed the fuck in. I said that certain of these Evil Deads make me like the other ones a little less. The moment that that kid like listens to the vinyl, like he is immediately regretting it. Like he is immediately, like he's trying to pull the, what is it called? The thing that like on a vinyl. Do you know what it's
The
called?
prick.
Let's call it, yeah. He tries to like release it, but it's stuck, and immediately he regrets it, and then tells the sister, and that's something that I think is really, really effective. But the whole point of why he gets it is not because he's stupid; it's because he wants to sell it and pawn it so he can get his mom money, so they can save the apartment and have money. It's just like really well thought out shit that I think people don't like because it's creating a drama when they want camp, but it rocks. And it's also like I'm gonna kill you, titty sucking motherfuckers. Like it's like you don't remember that bit where like she's looking at her three kids and she's like, I'm gonna kill you, titty sucking bitches. Like it's such a gangster ass movie, and like I was shocked about how much I fell in love with this movie. I think a complaint that I had was I don't really like the setting. I was so dumb. I
Yeah,
think the
you're
setting
so
is
dumb.
awesome. Like then even the neighbors I dig, like the two little kids that are like, we're watching all the Freddy movies. You want to come over? As they're eating like Cheetos, and then like the eldest brother is like, can we pray over her? And then she's like, she's not religious, and he's like, it'll help me. I'm like, Leith and Cronieth, like, who are you, bro? Just a great time. I even like the ending. A blast, a fucking blast. Like I am shocked at how much I loved it, but it makes me all the more confident knowing and saying that this is the best horror franchise out there, dude.
I didn't rewatch it. I don't remember that much about it, but I like it a lot. I liked it a lot when I first watched it, and I like
Mhm.
it on memory. I tried rewatching it, was like, "Why am I gonna rewatch this by myself? That's a loser thing to do." And then you rewatched it by yourself, and you were a loser for doing that.
True.
Um, you know, I mean, I don't really have much to say because 'cause it's been so long, but I just remember, like, really fucking with because you always have said, like, the whole setting thing, and I strongly disagree with that sentiment. I think the setting is so cool. I
Mhm.
think it is the best form of atmosphere in any of the movies by far.
Mm.
I think just, like, the way it's lit, the way it's all dingy and dark, the fact that, like, there are no other floors to this apartment apparently because it's all, like, deserted and fucked up.
Yeah,
They're,
yeah,
like, in
yeah.
Detroit,
No,
like
they're in Los Angeles.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
it's set in LA.
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool. I wish it was Detroit though,
yeah.
like Barbarian.
That's true.
Um, yeah, I the inside monster at the end, I mean, there's a lot of things to point that I love. People were upset that, like, it wasn't as gory as they wanted it to be. That,
Mhm.
like, the big complaint is, like, they didn't use the cheese grater enough. You guys are fucking idiots. That's
Yeah.
it.
No, I think it is really kind of idiotic. And I think to me, I think Lee Cronin kind of saw Evil Dead 2013 and chose not to make it as bloody, but he also knew that then to offload and supplement it, let's make you emotionally care. And like again, it like there's just like certain and again, if you're not invested in it emotionally, there's no real point because like it's always like again, the little girl's like you'd be a good mom because you're good at lying. Or like right before, and I cannot overstate to an almost near same degree, Alyssa Sutherland as the woman who is possessed is nearly band for band for with Jane Levy. I give Jane Levy the leg up because I think she is doing more and is given more to do and sells it. And she isn't in shit ever like after, and it breaks and breaks my heart. But there's like that bit in the bathroom scene where she is like about to like fully turn, and she's like, please don't let it get my babies. And
Yeah.
then she like starts vomiting fucking like rice and noodles and maggots and shit.
Mm,
And then it just like it goes full bore, and I'm like, dude, this is great. This is fucking great. Like I am jazzed. Like it is so good. I had a blast watching it. It's the best there ever is, dude.
I like when she gets blasted by the shotgun.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think if it's because you say it's same level as remake, which I'm not
Mhm,
saying that doesn't make sense,
mhm.
but do you think that like remake will always be the one that you kind of jump to first when you're in the mood to watch a movie like this, or do you think that like Rise will be
No,
your
it'll definitely be the 2013 one.
it's just
I
an easy
It
watch.
is an easy watch. I think there is more investment required, despite I think there's only like a 5 minute difference in runtime. Um, but it's the one that I think if like there was any sort of inclination in like 5 years from now, if we're like, let's watch all the Evil Deads, we can skip Rise. I'd say absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I am regretting not watching it. After I saw your 4.5, I was like, oh, I probably should have tapped in.
I was shocked. I just like even like the very ending. She's like when like the fucking homunculus like they're all in one. She's like, you wouldn't hurt your sister, and she's like, you're not my fucking sister, and then like chainsaws her. Like it's just great. I really just fell for the story, and I think Lee Cronin is actually like really talented at creating an interesting family dynamic. Um, I loved it.
Dude, we gotta stop talking about his name. I'm gonna get like flashbacks.
To the Jack Rayner mummy where his like eyes are like split watching the tapes. Do I will say though I do think like I'll shoot for the mummy. Sorry guys. But yeah, all this to say we're an hour and 34 minutes in and we haven't even talked about the movie we're talking about tonight.
Evil Dead Boy.
Um,
This one, I got this
please do,
one.
please do.
Someone reads from the Book of the Dead and people start getting possessed. Okay, to
The,
give this one a bit more credit, this one
mhm.
actually is debatably, and it sounds like Rise too,
Yeah,
is very focused on the setup to
yeah,
the events. So
yeah.
essentially, a recently widowed woman who is returned to essentially a pivotal, I'll call it mansion of her past with her
Mm,
now deceased husband's in-laws or family.
mhm,
They are staying at this cabin or this mansion, and someone from the Book of the Dead, and there is a lot more implications and history behind her relationship with her ex-husband and his her dynamic with his family and his dynamic with his family,
mhm.
until finally some people start getting possessed and shit goes downhill.
True. I mean, couldn't have really explained it better myself. I feel like I've kind of gone with thoughts for all of these up until this point. I'm gonna ask you the question. We came out of this movie. You give me your thoughts. I'm pretty well aware of your thoughts. You're pretty well aware of mine.
Yeah.
Have you thought about this movie much at all after the fact? And slash if has the thoughts gone up or gone down since you watched it?
Yeah, and I guess it's a bit of cheating because I had a conversation with my good friend and manager, Matt, who I
Ooh.
work with, because he also had found the time to see it, which is really cool because he
Mm-hmm.
has some personal stuff going on. So I always like hearing people find the time to to watch a movie,
Yeah.
and they have like personal stuff going on like that makes me happy because like
Yeah.
treat yourself, King.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We talked about it and we were kind of just gawking over it. Like, we were just having, like, fun, being like, "Yeah, like, that was so cool," and, like, him getting excited about it, and then me getting excited about it, and we're just kinda going down, like, "Remember this scene?" He's like, "Yeah, I remember this scene." He's like, "Dude, when that happened?" I'm like, "Yeah, when that happened." It was just it was fun to just gawk with him and get excited about a movie,
mm-hmm.
and this is gonna be detached from me for a second, but he's really interesting because Matt watches a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like not just like blockbuster schlop. Like he genuinely watches like he'll go his way to watch like the Oscar nominees, and like he saw like The Furious, for example. Like he
Oh
goes out of
wow.
his way to watch like a bunch of movies. Like he loves watching movies. And so like he's a huge Superman fan. Like he loves the characters of the
Mm,
comic, loves the most recent Superman, and he watched Supergirl and like he thought it was fine. Like we didn't really like it that much.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like he was kind of in a hot streak of watching films that were just okay. Like he didn't love, but like enjoyed, and he seemed like yeah, like I really loved Evil Dead Burn. I was like, fuck yeah, like that's exciting. And then just hearing him talk about, I'm like, yeah, like fuck what everyone is saying, fuck the haters, fuck the deniers,
Mm-hmm.
fuck the middlers.
Mm-hmm.
I had so much fun with this movie,
Mm,
and it reminds me, even though we had just watched the previous ones before it,
mm-hmm.
it really is a reminder, like, these movies are such a good time, like, all of them in their own facets for different reasons, like, I love movies when they're not fun, but I
Yeah.
especially love movies when they're fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like the Evil Dead movies are a clear example of artistic merit, of indie filmmaking, of horror filmmaking, but they really just wanna entertain you, and they all achieve that in spades, and Evil Dead Burn is no different.
Mm-hmm.
There are qualms that I have, there are technical issues that I have, it is not a perfect movie to me, it is not my favorite Evil Dead movie by a long shot. However, what it is doing well, what the things that I think it excels at, and the attention and the care that it puts in for establishing a different tone from the other movies,
Mm-hmm.
while also giving you an Evil Dead experience, I think works extremely well. I have so many flowers to throw out this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but to longly answer your question, I think not by much, but my feelings have basically gone up. Like, I think the more I think about this movie, the more I'm, like, glad that it exists, and I'm glad the way it is, and I really can be affirmed in, like, I do love my experience with this movie.
Fuck yeah, dude. I wish I could say the same
I
thing.
know, I know.
This movie frustrates the shit out of me actually, and it is the first time I think in Beneflicks pod history in 22 weeks. You can do the math on how many months that is, where I do really wish I could have rewatched this movie, but I have no interest to rewatch this
Yeah,
movie. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Um, it makes me sad because I think rewatching the last two movies made me realize that my flaws with this film stand out stronger than ever. What I will go to appreciate for sure, first and foremost, is Sebastian Vonchek. We have not watched your film prior to this, Infested. You give it your own stamp. You give it your own unique ideals and voice and image that Lee Cronin, Fede Alvarez, Sam Raimi does not touch. I think you are arguably narratively doing the most in trying to have your bat hit the ball hardest than all the other movies wrapped into one off the simple basis of what your story is about. I just personally didn't really ascribe much from it, and to a point where I was actually we were going to watch The Matrix 3 and 4, and in it, me and Austin were talking about what we were thinking the plot of this movie was, and in my head, I was like, "If that's it, holy fucking shit." And it is exactly that band for band, but it breaks my heart because I think it is the meanest Evil Dead, but also the one that asks the most of you emotionally, neither of which I think work in tandem the way that I had hoped it does,
Mm,
and to a point where we had talked about, like, the concept of this being, like, one of the first Evil Deads where it isn't in a conventional way. I will not spoil it. It isn't in the conventions of a normal Evil Dead with how the Deadites come to be and how they start affecting the main character.
yeah.
Um, and on a conceptual level, I actually really, really dig it. And the concept, and it's honestly like one to where there are certain movies whose concepts make me think about the task that the writers have to do to win you over because they're building the mountain highest for them to climb.
Yeah.
And the mountain that this movie builds, without spoiling anything, is making almost every single person around the lead actor insufferable and irredeemable, which it nearly almost does. But it is easily my least favorite lead character out of the three that we got in the most recent Evil Dead films, because I think those are the ones that follow a formula, so to speak, that you can compare things towards.
Mhm.
And it hurts me because I think this could have very easily been my favorite. And there's a combination of things. I think it's the fact that this movie's getting close to 2 hours. It's the fact that I think the final showdown doesn't work to the degree that it does on paper for me. It is the fact that I do stand by. It was a point that, like, you and me kinda disagreed on when we talk about it when we first came out. I wish they made the family more irredeemable. I actually think by the swapping of certain characters, which I'll talk about when we spoil the film, it could have succeeded more for me. But sadly, and I think even aesthetically, the movie felt like a bit of a slog to get through, and I still think that to a point where it's like, I really don't see myself going to put myself through this film, 110 minutes of it, just to watch the moments that I loved, but also get through the things I didn't hope, with the hopes that it changes on a reevaluation.
Mhm.
And maybe it will, because there is things here that work. I think there is segments. I think it has my favorite edit of any Evil Dead film, but it's also the one that, for all the good things, like, there is plenty of wonderful practical gore, it also just becomes a bit annoying for me. It just becomes a little bit grating for me. The beauty, you said efficiency earlier, and that is a word that I didn't think about when looking about at the other Evil Dead, 5 other Evil Dead films, but there are efficient. And, like, what this movie has that I think is an outshining, factor compared to 4 for me is I think the acting all around the board is actually pretty great. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty great. And there's moments, like I said, there's 2 moments in particular, a funeral segment, but in particular, a moment between the deceased son's mom and dad, which is, like, fucking maniacal shit. But then there's just also other stuff that just kinda made me roll my eyes, and by the time the movie ended, I just felt a bit sad. Like, I was like, and again, I still really did enjoy this movie. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm gleaning on the negative here. I liked it less than when I saw it, but I still, like, had quite a bit of fun with it, to a point where I'm like, "Dude, Sebastian Vonchek, I am so excited to see what the fuck you do next." I
Yeah.
just wish I got more, and I so heavily wish more than that, that I had the similar trajectory that you were having with this film.
Mm.
But sadly, it's like the things that didn't work for me stand out more abundantly so having rewatched these 2 films and me especially loving Rise more. I think that was the thing for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a very valid critique and very valid observation. I think what I really respect about Evil Dead Burn is it really does feel like the first time in the series that the
Mhm,
director really just kind of wants to hijack the Evil Dead formula and kind of put their own spin on it, which I really appreciate. Like, yes, like the Evil Dead remake feels like a Fede Alvarez film, and
mhm,
Lee Cronin's Evil Dead feels like now what we've seen with the Mummy. Like it does feel like he's kind of establishing a certain style with like family dynamics and whatnot, and the way that horror invests in that family dynamic and can
mhm.
abuse that family dynamic. But with Evil Dead Burn, it just feels so specific in its emotionality and its anger and the way
Mhm.
that we reflect on those around us. And what a very interesting creative decision, which I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I mean we're long enough, we can spoil it. If you don't want to
Yeah.
hear spoilers, I would say click off. Um, but it's not even that crazy of a spoiler. The film doesn't really show the Deadites being summoned in the
No.
traditional way.
No, they don't.
And it's such a brilliant concept to do because it almost makes it feel like the evil has been manifested with the family since always, and it
Mhm,
has. That's the whole
mhm.
thing in the movie is these people are fucking bad people, and it's a generational thing. It's
Yeah.
passed down because of the tampered and horrible relationships that these people have with their parents, and it's
Mhm,
passed down to make these people angry and frustrated and codependent on one another,
mhm.
and it makes this feel like most removed from, okay, they read from a book of evil, so evil things are happening. It feels like, no, like these people, like no other Evil Dead movie has done that. Like the
No.
characters are either blank slates or they're good people.
Mhm.
This is the example of majority of these characters are the worst ever, and so it feels
Yeah.
weird because it's not really like rooting for them to die, but rather it's like it feels even more suffocating and claustrophobic for our main character who is already in this shitty situation to begin with.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't like I think out of like the the most recent three, the lead in Burn is probably my least favorite character based on memory. But
Mhm.
at the same time, all three are great. And I've actually heard a pretty consistent opinion that people like her the most performance-wise of the 3.
Wow.
So yeah, it really is just like you said earlier,
Yeah.
it really
To
is
each their own.
to each their own, everyone has a different opinion. But I really fucked with Burn. I think like the camera movement, just the energy of general blocking and choreography in a lot of like the scenes. We talked about the bathtub scene, everyone's talking about the mirror transition. Like there is a great energy here. Like Matt and I were kind of gawking over like just how kind of how hilarious that scene is where like she's stabbing is like nah, wrong one. Wrong knife
Yeah.
or like just like
Yeah.
stuff like that, like
Yeah.
it has its very dark comedic tone but in a way that's like not pointing and being like this was a joke, like it's more so like it's the Deadites natural personality to just be kind of fuckers.
Mhm.
um him blowing his head off three
No,
separate
I think
ways,
that is really brilliant.
like, there's just, like, a lot of brilliance in it, and I'm not even fully disagreeing with you, like I said earlier, like, it's not a perfect film, it's nowhere near my favorite Evil Dead film. If anything, depending on my rewatch of Rise, it might be my least favorite Evil Dead film
Mhm.
still. Nonetheless, however, like, I really cannot understate how much I enjoyed this film and how much it was going for,
Mhm.
and I think, like, the French extremism genre that this is kinda poking at and this is kinda reveled in on the same term as, like, Martyrs or as, in fuck, what is it called? I'm blanking on the name, but the one with the pregnant woman and the doppelganger or whatever. Um, that series of
Mm.
like French expressionism films, extremist films of the 2000s is very much poking at that, but it's done in a way that feels like it's staying true to its franchise of Evil Dead, while also the director really trying to tackle a very different feeling of this movie. And yes, it feels mean and very brutal, but it feels like it serves the themes of the film perfectly. And despite me not loving that last kind of set piece that the
Mhm.
film sets up and how it is and where it takes place at. What I will say is that last interaction and the last line that our main character gives as these a lot of these movies end with like the big like one liner moment.
Mhm.
That one liner is probably my favorite.
Frankly, like, between the last 3 films, I would agree with you. I just think that it just, like, felt just not, like, out of place, just underwhelming, I guess, like, circumstantially
Yeah, I
or
think
in a
just
setting
yeah.
sense. Um, and I said earlier, and I think I don't know why it's this, like, hang up that I have so much with the movie. I really just cannot fully get behind because I agree with you about the brother character in the movie. We had talked about because I said I wish it fully committed to people compare like to Resident Evil 7. I wish from the jump they were just callous, mean-spirited human beings, but that's an even more difficult task to do as a writer. And the brother character exists is the profession of a writer, so then that's how like the Deadites can have a logistical in to get the MacGuffin of the knife, so to speak. My frustration is, and I do think there is a level of irredeemability when it comes to his own actions implicating both himself and his girlfriend, where then how he just leaves and flees and lets her get killed and become a Deadite herself. But I think it's because then he writes himself into a wall where then he needs a character to at least help guide this woman to where she needs to be before he turns. But my frustration, I think, is, and I came up with this thought of like, what if the roles were reversed where the brother was a piece of shit to her no matter what, and then the girlfriend was the one that was the one being nicer to her, and the fact that then she turns truly has everyone against her quite immediately.
Yeah.
And I guess it just was like, I wish the movie really fully, to the degrees that it does, commits to all of them being an asshole because I think there is some level of dimension that Vonchek tries to have with that brother character that just falls completely flat for me.
Mm.
But even so, even outside of that, I really, really, really do love that concept, like you even brought up earlier, of the fact that like the Deadites, it's less concerned about them inhabiting these people, but more it is personifying what they already are.
Yeah, like it, and that was a very interesting point. Like I was talking to Matt earlier, and he brought up a question that I like literally didn't even consider, and it's not like a
Hmm.
really important question, but he was like, "Oh, like, do you think the brother and the main character hooked up?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, like, you didn't get that?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, like, me and my wife watched it, and, like, we're on the fence about it, like, we don't know because the girlfriend says that one line about, like, the main character having all the men in the family or whatever, and there was always, like, the
Mm.
inclination in the beginning, and I was like,
Mm.
that is an interesting point that now that you say it, it's like, okay, well, the evil isn't really manifesting these people and turning them evil, like, they were already evil,
Mhm.
like, they were already
Mhm.
fucked up, and they're just basically verbalizing what they wanted to say,
Mhm.
um, so I can hear you, and I definitely I agree to some extent, but I think just what worked for me really worked for me, and the grievances I have just don't drop the
Sure.
film that low for me. But you had a question that you wanted to ask earlier, and it kind of ties in with what you were just saying. You kind of were, I guess, not hoping, but rather like seeing the result,
Mhm.
kind of the want of the whole family just being piece of shit. You asked like dream directors to tackle an Evil Dead movie. Maybe it's a bit too late in his career, but Rob Zombie, what are your thoughts? Rob Zombie Evil
I
Dead
mean,
movie?
outside of the part of me that just wants him to make any movie, I really, because you aren't wrong. I had asked you that question earlier because the only person that I could think about, because I'd be very interested to see what a woman could do with this franchise, but I think given she's gone mean and she's gotten slightly surrealist, but also very like emotionally raw, would be Jennifer Kent. Um,
Really?
and that would be one that like just came to mind because I think she's worked with gore very, very well with The Nightingale, which is a movie we will watch,
Yeah.
but she also works with emotion swimmingly and has wonderful child performances from the Babadook, but also in her the Starlings, I think that's what it was called, her short film
Yeah.
that she did with the Guillermo del Toro on Netflix. That was the one director that I came up with. Like I couldn't really think of anyone else, but like Rob Zombie, I do think could have that really good undercurrent of dark humor.
I can throw out a name.
And oh, okay.
Julia Darkenara? I can't pronounce it.
Oh,
Director.
Decornu, the Alpha.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
I
you
could get
because
down
I
with that.
thought when you were describing female director
Mm.
who's
Oh, you thought I was
surrealist
gonna
evil,
say Julie
I thought you were
Decornu?
gonna say her, and because she
Interesting.
has like that weird kind of like gore thing, like body horror thing
Yeah.
that might work for the series. Granted, she's not a traditional horror director. I mean, Raw's towing the line, but
Mhm.
I think it'd be very interesting, like surrealist wise. And we know that she does body horror well with obviously Raw, Titan, and even Alpha to some extent. Like she has a
Mhm.
good eye for it with practical effects and whatnot. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know why she ever in a million years would do an Evil Dead movie because she's just on a different page
Sure.
entirely with her
Sure.
career. But I don't think it'd be a bad idea for her to tackle it.
No, and again, I think that we're 3 films deep, and at this point, I really do think that, like, we have filmmakers that are doing it so uniquely. And Wrath, the one that's supposed to be coming out next year, 2028, has already been done. So it's not like reactionary to what Byrne did or
Yeah.
performed with. But I won't deny that I am kind of craving a bit more camp. Like I would argue, oddly enough, I think Rise has the most camp, which isn't very much as it is, out of the three on the rewatch, especially. Like it hit
Yeah.
for me.
The shotgun scene.
Yeah, and like even like the jokes, she's like, brother, I hope we can watch that movie again soon because it was like even that bit where the sister's like swallowing the glass. She's like, I'm getting the creepy crawlies out of my tummy. And she's like, you like creepy crawlies in your tummy? It's like it's fucking baller. But like I am very hopeful for what the director of Wrath does. He's like the whitest dude ever. But like Francis Gillespie like is from the last stop in Yuma County. Like he's really good at an insulated space that has like comedy but also intensity added to it. And that is like truly the beauty. I had hangups with Burn. I still had a lot of fun with it. I think inevitably I will rewatch the movie. Um,
Can I
it,
get,
yeah,
can I give a last recommendation?
sure.
Zach Krager.
You know, I was that. Do you hear his Resident Evil movie is only like 90 minutes? Dude, we're fucking nitrous oxide. We're like that is going to be such a fun episode.
Talking about his three,
Yeah, like we
for
don't
sure.
we. I mean, it would be a cute movie night to do like a watch of those both of his movies, but like we talked about like weapons to quite lengths in our best of the moments in movies of last year. I think Krager would be really, really,
I
really
just think
fucking good
like
at it.
he's probably the best right now doing comedy and horror in tandem, and that's what Evil
Hmm.
Dead has kind of thrived on. And yes, it might be a bit too samey for what the series has been adapted to. I
Hmm.
do think like if your goal was to make just a rough house Evil Dead movie, Zach Krager is probably your guy.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, I think he has a good understanding of tone, especially that matches the series,
Yeah.
and I feel like he's willing to get goofy with shit too. Like that's been exemplified with weapons and even with Barbarian to a certain extent. Like he is willing to get goofy and have fun with it, and I think that's like what the series has always thrived on.
Hmm.
But there is that different conversation of a director who can implement their own style that would not be exactly what Evil Dead is used to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very, very sorry. I was looking at Evil Dead Wrath. Apparently, it's set in 1972. That's crazy.
Even like the Racka
Would
brothers.
it be bad?
Like I'm surprised they actually haven't been. I mean, it's because they're doing their own thing. They're making their money. You talk to me too, whatever. Like
Hmm.
I get it.
Hmm.
They like it. This series kind of feels like it was made for them, like with their
Yeah.
YouTube background and
Yeah.
stuff, and like even with how kind of Bring Her Back plays out a lot of like the horror and gore elements.
Hmm.
And I mean, to
Hmm.
some extent, Talk to Me like it kind of would be right up their alley. I would
I think that
actually maybe that's the
that probably,
answer.
but it just I think the only reason why I would be apprehensive is because they need to get out of their melodramatic bullshit. Like as much fun as I have, like because I view that moment of the kid eating the fucking wood table, but I imagine like a more like absurdist lens to it. I'm like, guys, you literally had Ronald McDonald, like fucking tap back into that. Like
Yeah,
it works, but unfortunately, I just think it would keep like being diminishing returns. But like they also have a really good sense of sincerity and heart to themselves that I do buy into, like the siblings and Bring Her Back, or in like Talk to Me, like the wife Sophia Wilde, like
yeah.
all so good. I would love it, and I think that honestly too is why I have no issue or qualm saying that the Evil Dead franchise is my favorite because it gets me so excited. 6 films deep, and like people are so fucking stupid. Like I've heard the take of saying that like Burn isn't very good because it isn't concerned with the lore, um, and it feels
So
so unlike Evil Dead. But I'm like, what the fuck kind of the fact that the most lore heavy of the movies is a man with a chainsaw hand in 13th century medieval times, like and again, like if you're like an Evil Dead TV show purist, fine, go fucking suck some titty. Like I don't care. Like these movies have about as much lore as like the sandwich that I ate and made in 2 minutes. Like
like probably my favorite horror franchise could not tell you a single word about the lore. I
no,
don't care about the lore.
no, dude,
It's not that.
no,
It's like if you get it a kick out of the lore, good for you. Like I'm happy for you. But from like a majority of audiences who love these movies, I'm promise you the issue with Evil Dead Burn and why it's the weakest in the series is not because it's a
no.
lacking lore.
No, no, and the last thing I'll say, like in terms of like, or what I would say about the movie against its credit is, it isn't. lacking any swings. In fact, it is the swings in existence that at some points don't work for me.
Debatably swings the hardest.
Yeah, yeah. No, what did they say at the end of Signs? Swing, swing, Merle, swing. Da-na-na,
The
da-na-na,
fact that
da-na-na.
you're asking me, even
Sorry,
though you're the
sorry.
you're the
I know.
science person,
I was trying to quiz you.
ranking
Yeah. Burn, Army of Darkness, Rise, one. No. Well, yeah, I'll say Rise, one, Evil Dead, two.
Evil Dead remake then too, just to clarify for
Sorry, thank
those.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Um, and maybe the exact same ranking as you. I guess the only caveat probably Army of Darkness above Rise, but
Uh
I
huh.
feel like that would change on a Rise
Uh
rewatch.
huh.
So for now, I'm literally gonna say the exact same as yours.
Okay.
But it is important to clarify for me, all the films are a 3.5 or above,
Yeah.
with Evil Dead 2 being a 4.5. Absolutely adored it. One of the best horror films of all time.
Mhm.
And the Evil Dead remake being one of the best to ever do it, one of the best horror films of all time.
No, quite literally. Despite my more pessimistic opinion on the burn and my thoughts, I still give it like a softer but kind of like hardened seven. And then it literally jumps to Army of Darkness being an 8.5, Rise being like an 8 point, like a close to a nine, and then everything being like a nine. Like I give Evil Dead 2 a 10. I give the remake a 9.25. I feel like I'm a bit too difficult to give it like a 9.5.
Sure.
But like the average score of them all is a nine. Like that to me is like unfucking believable. Like
Yeah.
I am so grateful like to think that now we are primed and ready for whatever Evil Dead content gets thrown into the pipeline next. I'm very excited to see what all these directors and filmmakers are doing next. Um
Keep making them. Like
yeah.
if this is the new type of like Saw movie where you just give a new Evil Dead to a new director
Mhm.
and just let them have a gonzo, like I am
Mhm.
so down for it because
Mhm.
obviously like the series is pretty easy to make magic with, and obviously it's working for the directors they're choosing. So
Very true.
please make it like a yearly thing. I'll watch every single one you put in theaters. I'll watch it 10 times over if it
Quite
makes you so
literally.
happy.
Quite literally. Well, my friends, what a nice little blood-soaked journey that you
Not little, bro. 2 hours long,
say
bro.
wallahi, bro. Like it's fucking crazy. I'm very interested to see what the runtime, especially of our episode by the end of the month, is going to be.
Oh fuck.
That
three
one's
minutes. 3 minutes.
it's fucking one for each. Never mind. Each time I fell asleep, but thank you guys. I think you'll really get a kick out of if you haven't already this episode, but if you do stay tuned, we got quite a lot to say about our next week's episode.
Yeah.
It's a movie that I'm already sort of like thinking about in tangents. I will say slightly kind of jaded because I've been thinking a lot about it during our episode tonight. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
So if you haven't already, please follow us in all our socials. The link is in the description for both of our letterboxes, my Instagram, my TikTok, ASMR, non ASMR, my YouTube channel, but our YouTube channel, which is the Beneflicks Podcast. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, email us in at beneflickspod at gmail.com for any and all thoughts. It doesn't even have to be Evil Dead related. It could be if you're having orange blood, if you saw Minions and Monsters, let me know. I didn't watch it.
Please let us know if Burn is your favorite Evil Dead and why. We want to hear your rankings. We want to see your rankings. We want
True,
you to be included in the conversation
true.
because, truthfully, everyone has a different ranking, and all the rankings are wrong unless it's ours. So,
Exactly, exactly, exactly. But thank you guys so much. We'll catch you all in the next video.
mwah.
Do you remember the fact that in our last outro we sung?
What do we sing?
What did we sing? What did we sing? We sing we you like came we finished on such a beautiful note.
I do remember us singing, but I have no recollection at all of what we sang.
We
Isn't that scary?
I don't think we remember any of it, but we sang something. Um
I just remember you going during the episode. What did you say? You said, "Oh, like it's okay. You're okay. Don't worry. Don't worry about being perceived."
wait, hold on. This is Mr. on the radio, stereo,
Dude, we were clonked.
and that was it. Isn't that kind of fucking beautiful? All right, guys. Good night. Peace out. We love you. Mwah.